Great, thank you. Welcome everyone to the Centerville City Council meeting being held here on February 4th. For those of you that showed up about 15 minutes earlier, you weren't missing council meeting. That was a work session. We do work sessions before most of our council meetings, or where they're noticed, the public can come. We don't vote at them. You can't vote at work sessions, but any votes have to take place in city council. We just discuss. Usually it's something that may come up for a vote or may not. So, but we welcome staff. We welcome residents, non-residents. Thank you, City Council, for being here. And along those lines, let's make sure we can do business by doing a roll call.
Mika present.
Summer Hayes present.
Heyman present.
Hurst present.
Plummer present.
Great. All 5 council members present. Thanks for being here. We're going to start with legislative prayer of thought. I'm going to have Councilmember Meekum introduce who's going to do that for us.
Okay. I spent more time than I would have liked at Lakeview Hospital this last week, and I ran into a beautiful lady that is the chaplain there. And as I was talking to her, she said that she would be glad to come and bless our great city. And so her name is Shannon Burke. She was raised in Chicago, Illinois. She moved to Utah with her husband, that is a colonel at Hillfield Air Force Base, and so we'd really like to thank him for his service. Shannon has her master's degree in education and has worked as an educator for over 28 years. She also has her Master of Divinity and is working with the Episcopal Church.
I invite you all to bow with me in prayer. Almighty God, who has given us this good land for our heritage, we humbly beseech you that we may always prove ourselves a people mindful of your favor and glad to do your will. Bless our land with honorable industry, sound learning, and pure manners. Save us from violence, discord, and confusion, from pride and arrogance, from every evil way. Defend our liberties and fashion into one united people the multitudes brought hither out of many kindreds and tongues. Endue with the spirit of wisdom those to whom in your name we entrust the authority of the government of Centerville, that there may be justice and peace here, and that through obedience to your law we may show forth your praise among the nations of the earth. In the time of prosperity, fill our hearts with thankfulness, and in the day of trouble, suffer not our trust in you to fail. All we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. We appreciate that. That's we have 3 organized faiths in our community: the Episcopalian Church, the Bridge Church, and the LDS congregations. And so it's nice to be able to get them all participating. And so we thank you for that prayer. So if you'd all rise with me and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. All right, tonight we have one public hearing matter. Okay, this is a public hearing on a zoning map amendment in relation to the Garlock property at 535 South 400 West. So if you're here to speak on the Garlock property rezoning, you don't need to speak now at this open session because there's going to be a public hearing for that. And you'll be able to just speak about that during the public hearing. That'll just help keep things streamlined. But if you're here to talk about anything else, to commend or to complain, either way, or just do whatever you want to do that's within reason, keeping it civil, then now's the open session for you. Okay, we encourage you to keep comments to around 3 minutes or so. This open session comments that you bring forth, we will take notes, all the council members and myself and our recorder and our city manager, and if it's something that we can address at another meeting, we will. You need to always keep in mind that we can't go into too far of a discussion because we have a notice by law that we have to let the public know 24 hours in advance. And that's why we post our agendas where the public can know to come. But we like doing these open sessions because it gives us an opportunity to hear what's on the residents' minds. So that open session is now available if anybody is so inclined to comment. Just state your name and where you're from.
I can go first then? Thank you. My name's Mark D. Whitaker, and I believe I'll be running for a position, I believe it's number 18 here locally. I'm going to tell you about why I think cement roads are better than asphalt roads, and why we should put them in. The first big reason why cement is better than asphalt is there's approximately 1 barrel of oil in every 50 foot by 50 foot by 3 foot depth of asphalt. That's first. Second, the asphalt gets hotter in the summertime. Asphalt will get up to 200 degrees. And cement will only get up to 120 degrees, which is advisable why you wouldn't walk really anywhere in your bare feet on either surface. The third reason why I prefer cement to asphalt is people used to live, believe it or not, I believe they used to live about 200 years. And we can't live that long anymore because the oil leaches into the gutters, and the gutters then leach into the water at about 3 parts per billion. So people are staying sick, and that's why people have to drink bottled water. The fourth reason is safety. You see, asphalt, when it's wet, is less slick than cement, or the cement's less slick than the asphalt, rather. And see, asphalt, you slide into somebody, but on cement, you'll stop approximately 40 feet sooner. And that's a safety. And those are are there 4 there? There's 4 there, yeah. Those are the 4 reasons why we should go to cement rather than asphalt. And I'd like to see here in Centerville this sort of a policy where we put down cement. Some people say that cement doesn't last as long. I think it lasts just as long as asphalt. And I think that we can benefit from this idea. Hopefully people take it more seriously when I try to become the state of Utah's governor in 2028. For now, I'm going to try to take a position, and I believe it's number 18 here locally. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our public works people are here, and they're taking good notes, so thank you for your comments. Yeah.
I'm Leon Tanner. I live on Homestead Circle in North Centerville.
Wonderful.
My concern has to do with 2 things. One is the cemetery. It seems to me that our mayor ran on the principle if he was going to increase the size of the cemetery, which I haven't seen. And last summer, my wife passed away unexpectedly, and we couldn't get a lot in Centerville where there were two lots together or a 2D plot. So we had to go to Bountiful. And the cost of plots being non-resident, it cost us about $6,600 more than it would have as a resident in Bountiful. Then the other thing that I am a little bit concerned about, I have, in the last couple of weeks, I've been getting a couple of ads in the mail to donate to the police department in Centerville for bulletproof vests. And then I go past the park over here on Fourth West on the freeway, or on the frontage road, and I see that you're adding pickleball courts. And I'm a little bit concerned that we're putting recreation ahead of police safety and ahead of the basic needs of the citizens. That's my concern.
Thank you. Leon, number one, sorry about your loss. Number two, I don't know, I ran on that platform, but I worked my tail off on it for many years. Half a dozen different things, and I spent another hour on it today. The cemetery is a complex issue. And number three, we form budgets. The department heads give us our budgets. Recreation, parks, police, and you're welcome to come to our budget sessions that we'll be having in 2 days in April, and they submit budgets to us, and so that money is allocated for certain things, for police, with their budget, public works, our streets for their budget, parks for their budget, so that's kind of how that works, but you're welcome to come to those budget talks, and thank you for your comments.
Mr. Mayor, if I can just interject, we are not sending out any letters for donations. If you would kindly have a conversation with the chief afterwards, the chief is right behind you, so if you'll chat with him about it, we are not asking for donations.
That sounds like a scam.
What this letter says,
Come on up.
Yeah,
Come up so we can get you. And thank you, Brent, for catching that, because I was going to address that too.
on the top of the letter, it says, Centerville City Council members need to hear from you. That's all I was going by.
Chief will get with you after this, and we'll see what.
Yeah,
about that.
thanks for bringing it to attention, because
Yeah.
we're concerned about that one. Yeah. All right, anyone else for the open session?
Mayor and council, none of you are more disappointed than I am that I'm here again in front of you. I'm Rick Bangeter, Centerville City resident and Centerville City business property owner. And I've been here before. I need to make a few comments, if I may, here in open session. Per agenda tonight, I think you're going to be addressing aspects of the Utah Open Meetings Act. And I'm disappointed that Lisa's not here. I wanted to bring up a point to her, but I don't want to be contentious, please, council and mayor. But I will reveal I'm pretty disappointed again in some aspects of city process. And it's not appropriate to censor any of your residents or constituents. In fact, it's extremely disappointing. When they might have an opinion that you might not like or enjoy, that does not give you leeway to discard that from identified meetings of a minute, a formal public meeting, and in fact preclude any mention of that in minutes of the meeting. And that happened 2 weeks ago. At a Centerville City Council meeting on January 7th, I presented comments in open session on behalf of several businesses regarding storm drain issues. I distributed a 17-page report to each of you, a hard copy, that included 6 specific recommendations regarding the issues, and I stated I would recommend that be included as an attachment, not a lengthy deal for the minutes, and that's recorded if you'll listen to the voice recording of that meeting again, and that it thereby be available to the public. That never happened. That contradicts statute 54-4-203-4- d that you'll be looking at. That's in your packet tonight for your consideration. That's one of your statutes. And censoring, that's what it feels like, began at that point. And in the January 21st City Council meeting, our last one, prior to approval of January 7th's minutes, which were part of your packet that I reviewed, I presented, I didn't feel like the minutes comprehensively included comments that I had made. I forwarded recommendations, two things that night. One on some recommendations to the resolution you were passing regarding the storm drain, and the other on recommendations for some amendments to the minutes, two sentences I thought would more clearly identify what I had stated, and what in fact I stated in the recorded message that you can review. While neither of those were passed by you, it's the second one that's particularly troubling. In the minutes you're going to be looking at to approve for that meeting tonight, there is mention of the resolution. There is no mention of the other item, which was a correction or an addition to further clarify comments I made. And 3 of you voted against that, and that's all it says. You didn't say against that. You voted to approve the minutes. There's nothing recorded in the records of that meeting, anything about a discussion about that. And that, folks, I'm sorry, but that feels like censorship. And I don't think we want to be that way in Centerville City. Council's official minutes of meetings should be succinct, but inclusive of discussions had and recommendations forwarded. To purposefully exclude a subject, perhaps because you don't agree, and council, you all know what that subject was. The compensation that we suggested, maybe some of which that you receive, go to the storm drain fund for a particular reason that's all identified. And while I know you didn't agree with that, there's been nothing to identify that it was even brought forward, let alone several of the other recommendations in the letter that the businesses and I presented to you. That doesn't feel very transparent. And Robin, you've said a number of times that you feel like you're trying. I do, in many ways. You guys have been great. And this one, it's hard. It's been really hard for us to sense that it's been real transparent. So many decisions that were made with respect to that occurred without most businesses, hardly any businesses, being aware you were even talking about those subjects at the time. So transparency to businesses, to many of us, questionable. Censoring, very concerning. By the way, this has raised some eyebrows at the Utah League of Cities and Towns and with the Attorney General. I hope it doesn't have to go any farther, but you're going to be approving some minutes tonight. I purposefully didn't include or suggest any wording because you've been non-agreeable to any suggestions, specific suggestions I've made in the past. But I hope when you address those minutes tonight, you look at the section about that, the pending amendments for approval, and see that something is included about, in minutes approval, about what was presented to you formally in this meeting 2 weeks ago. Hope we can improve a little. Sorry to be here again. Thanks for your time, and I hope we can be appreciative and respectful of each other, and I'm sure we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. So I'm going to be very blunt. Number 1 is we do written minutes. Number 2, we do YouTube. People can go back and look at YouTubes of our meetings and see that everything that's talked about. We cannot get everything in the written minutes, but it's all there in the written minutes or YouTube. Bring on the Attorney General, bring on the League of City Towns anytime you want, because I have such a compliant staff and compliant council members that want to do things right, and we do things right. And then thirdly, the specific issue you brought before, we've delayed implementation of stormage draining fees to be able to have a work session where we can invite everybody and explain it in detail to them. I mean, we are doing our best and bending over backwards. And if we happen to miss a sentence or two in some minutes, we apologize. But it's all there when you look at written minutes and you look at videos. So I will hope you would realize that too. And when you bring up just written minutes, you didn't bring up YouTube videos. You can go back and see the whole meeting. Okay, so thank you. Next for open session.
Good evening.
Welcome.
My name is Rick Bingham. I live at 290 East Casaloma Drive. Have lived there for 45 years. I got a little surprise text message on the 28th of January, which had a copy of a little announcement. Centerville General Plan Open House. Maintain the culture and character of the city you love. Share your voice directly to the consultant hired to rewrite the general plan of Centerville. The text message I got was by somebody who was concerned that people don't know about a survey that was being floated in the city. Very few people knew about this open house. And on this little flyer, or whatever it was, I don't know, I just got a photocopy of it, was a QR code leading to a recording of a Centerville, or City Council work meeting, and I believe it was January 15th, if I remember right. So I listened to that, and I got a copy of the survey. I'm a retired marketing guy. I've done dozens of surveys and focus groups. And I want to just go on public notice. This is woefully inadequate. I couldn't help but contrast it with a survey that was done in 2007. It was the basis for our current general plan. And this was an 8-page survey compared to a 1-page survey. This is very cryptic with photos that I couldn't identify with. As far as housing options, there was no mention of single or family dwelling, which is far and away the majority of the households in Centerville. One thing I wanted to say as I listened to this, first thing that came up, and I congratulate Robin Williams for mentioning this, is how was this advertised? And I think it was posted, tacked up on trees somewhere, or posts, or in the city hall, it was proposed and so forth. I just want to point out the 2007 survey came to my house in an envelope. And my wife and I completed it. And when we finished it, we could just fold it over. And it was a prepaid mail back into the city. Or it said that we could drop it off. And so there were 638 responses to this. I just want to tell you that you've got to have a sizable number of people responding to a survey in order to get any valuable information you can evaluate. In response to the 2007 survey, in January of 2008, an 18-page summary of that survey was published. It's vital, valuable information. I can't get any valuable information out of this. Okay? I think there's a woeful lack of communication with the citizens of Centerville. I was not overly disappointed that the monthly city newsletter was discontinued. Probably is going the way of the newspaper. But I'd like to suggest that in this modern day of electronic communication, you could reach everybody in this city with within a few seconds, send a message. If you had a email address for each resident of the city or a cell phone. Okay. I got a similar situation over this tattoo parlor issue. I'd like to say this. Centerville is a small community. I have heard somebody say it was the smallest community in the state. If not the smallest, among the smallest. What do we got? 3 miles long and 2 miles wide. There's not a lot of real estate left. But in listening to that work meeting, you got the impression our city council is trying to shoehorn in as many high-density dwellings as it can get away with. At one point, the townhomes over on Pages Lane was mentioned as being impressive. And it was mentioned that they had to stretch the code a little bit to get them approved. And then one member of the city council said, I think, yeah, that's a good-looking thing. I think we could get away with increasing the density. Get away with? We elect you to protect our city plan and to work within that city plan. I don't think you need a new plan. I think you need to work with the plan you have. The citizens of this community have shared their input. Is it perfect? Can it be reworded? Can it be refined, improved? Yes. I was unable to attend that open house where I could talk with the man who's been hired to rewrite our city general plan. But I heard back from some people who did attend, and he said something like, this city doesn't want to change. This city is happy the way it is. And I think we're just trying to plow the same field over again or cross the same bridge again. I'd like to just say, let's tap the brakes and hit the pause button and re-examine where we're going. Work within the plan we have. I heard one of the council members, I think it was Brian Plummer, read a description that Priscilla Todd wrote about our values, and I thought it was so beautiful. I want a copy of that. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share. I just think we need to rethink this thing and come down to earth. And there's one thing that's not going to happen. There's not going to be any more land added to Centerville City unless we go to war and try to take over Farmington. Okay. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Rich. We appreciate your comments. I think you hit on something right at the end that is so critical of this. There isn't any more land, and that's why it's so critical that we get it right with the general plan that addresses what we have left. Redoing general plans is something that happens in cities around this country, around this state all the time. We don't do ours as regularly as other cities redo theirs. And so we try to do our best in, it's been going on for 9 months to a year now. We've had SOMAS at the 4th of July events, at the Christmas events, doing surveys, had their display posted.
Fall festival.
Fall festival. So we've been trying, and then we had the open house this past week where everybody could participate as well too. The general plan does not outline necessarily the density of our housing. Density is decided by the Planning Commission and City Council as they meet. It will just define in our general plan open space, cemetery issues, home issues, recreation issues, that sort of thing. It's a plan for the whole city. It's not a housing plan, okay? That's what we're attempting to do with our general plan, to define what we have left. And in regards to surveys, we could possibly do a better job with surveys. The mail survey that you refer to, that's how it used to be done in 2007. We've used Qualtrics surveys and other surveys. So a lot of them have been online, and I think that people don't see those as well as they often see something come in the mail. So our work session before the meeting tonight was on a better website and that sort of thing. And we also discussed, we'll discuss in our budget meetings, you know, how we get the right mixture of online and newsletters and mails to people. So, so we appreciate that.
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
I told residents last week at the open house, if the answer or the concerns that you have weren't on that survey, write them in the comments. We want to hear what you are feeling as well as others. So please just write down how you feel, and then we can assess all of that.
Because we want to get this general plan right. It's the city's general plan. And everyone's here, and everyone has different interests as far as recreation, housing, what type of recreation, that sort of thing. So we're trying to get it right.
I took a handful of these surveys you have out here and went to neighbors in my area, and nobody had a clue that this was going on. I think there's a woeful lack of communication to the members of our community. I don't think it has to be that way. I think this was not advertised or promoted in any way, shape, or form that would meet a majority of the residents of Centerville. Okay? Why can't we have an email list for every residence? Everybody's got email. How much does that cost to send out an email? Does that break the budget?
I don't know.
You could do that weekly.
Well, it doesn't, it's a matter of gathering it all.
The
Like, that would
confidentiality
be-
issue, right? You have to share your email with us. So
sign up for it.
just to let you know, so on our website, we do have a button where you can hit notify me. You click that button, and that's where you give us permission to send you emails about information. But you click on those things you have interest in, and you'll get an email automatically if something pops up. That's where people need to give us permission to use that information. We can't just go through all of our records and solicit and send information to you without you agreeing to allow us to send that to you.
Thank you, Brent. That's right. By privacy laws, confidentiality, you have to give us that authority.
We would love it. If everybody signed up, it would be
So
great.
you couldn't advertise and send out a message to the members of this community and say, we're starting a newsletter or email newsletter. Would you like to be on it? You couldn't do that.
We can mail to your home, but we need to have your approval to send out emails. And that's where Brent says you can go to the website, and we're hoping the updated website's even more user-friendly to say, yes, please share this information with us in specific areas or any area you want, so.
One thing I would just like to add is I think in the lack of communication, open, clear, transparent communications, the trust that our citizens have in their government kind of flags. We feel like things are going on behind their back, trying to do a smoke and mirror kind of thing, you know, and I don't like that feeling. I like open, transparent communication from my city.
Well, please at any time, call any of us, email any of us. We're here to answer any question that we can answer for you.
You also might want to talk to your local politicians with regard to changes that the legislature is looking at making to grandma to make records less transparent. But that's all I'll say on that. That's not a Centerville City thing.
I just think we have such a close-knit community that almost anybody would sign up for.
Did you hear what Councilwoman Hayman just said? We have a lot of things that come from the state legislature that we have to follow, so you might want to talk to your state legislature about
Oh, I do.
some of their grandma requests. So,
Sure.
thanks, Rick. All right, anyone else for the open session?
I did not come here to make comments, but I will support what this gentleman just said, and he has done it more eloquently. I was at the July meeting.
Can you state your name?
Oh, my name is Craig Preston. I live on Sienna Lane.
Thank you.
Been here for about 4 years, moved from North Salt Lake. I still get the North Salt Lake City email from the city manager. It can be done. It's not that big a deal. Don't dig in your heels. Okay, second one is, just to support this issue, tell you what my experience with that meeting was in the survey and why I'm very, very concerned about it. I was at that July 4th thing down at the park over here, and that survey process was pictures on a board with Post-it notes. And they were going around and telling people to put up your Post-it note for what you like. And there were 10, 8, 14-year-old kids doing that, and they said, put them up as many as you want on whichever picture you want. That is not a very good way to do a survey. If you're relying on that kind of feedback, it's very flawed. I'm very concerned about this process and who you're using because, to me, they do not know Centerville. We moved to Centerville for a specific purpose, for what is here. And we need people who know Centerville to help us plan for Centerville. We don't need Boston or Salt Lake or Farmington or anybody else's information, lifestyle, whatever, put here. We need somebody who understands Centerville. So I support the fact that this survey process is not a very, to me, it has no reliability. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Don't get too caught up on those Post-it notes. I talked to Chris from Somas, and I says,
Any more?
let me finish.
Okay.
I talked to Chris at Somas, and I said, you know, I can go to my CPA meetings and overload a certain section of the board. Keep that in mind. He says, we will, Mayor. We keep that in mind. So there's more than just the Post-it notes that go onto it. That gives us an idea. And we have long-term residents on this council that care about Centerville City and what happens with it. But thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. I'm Dave Layton, 736 East, 650 South. I have quite a few notes to go over, but my wife said to keep it to 3 minutes, so I better do that. My remarks today focus on the council meeting from the 14th of January, and most of them are specific to my friend Councilman Summer Hayes' remarks. A big thank you to all of you. I appreciate all the work that you do. You're way over there, Robin. We need you closer in. I'll start by saying that I voted for you, Councilman Summerhays. I recall reviewing your flyer that read, "With a family and community-centered approach, we must responsibly plan and manage growth so that future generations can live in the great community of Centerville." I did not attend any cottage meetings. Shame on me, my fault. But I did not know that he was going to have such progressive views on growth. I know others that voted for him that feel the same. I don't believe that 2,875 citizens voting for him should be called a substantial mandate. Now that I've seen his presentation, I understand what his statement said. I haven't put the time and energy into a presentation like Councilman Summerhays has. And I have some common feelings with him. He said, family growth has everything to do with the general plan. I agree that we have family values, but I'm not so sure that it has that much to do with the general plan. Pro-growth and families, yes. We love babies. Sherry and I have 5 children and 12 grandchildren. Like Mr. Summerhays, I'm from a large family of 9 children. 7 of us live within 2 miles from here. We feel very blessed to live here. But you know what? None of our children live here. And that's okay with them. They don't all need to live in Centerville. One of my daughters wants to live in Centerville. She's sacrificed in a nicer home in Kaysville so that she can live in Centerville. But that's okay with everybody. They would like to live here, but they're not staying up at night over it. It's not a priority to them. One of the important facets of data, and I really appreciate all the data you put in this, we need to make sure that the approach we take uses valid and relevant data. Otherwise, our approach will be flawed. I believe that tangible, real data, population, square miles, population per square mile, data like that I think is important. I have this handout that I've given to you. In the yellow columns are population per square mile. In the green is numbers of single units. And in both of those with our peer communities, we're within 97 or 98% of our peers, okay? I think it's a pretty good place for us to land. I would not say that we are burdening other communities with where we are. I think we're doing our part. Since we're average, I think that in the future, we ought to continue with the same 83% high density or something like that, close to that. Maybe as much as 20 or 25% should be high density housing, but no more than that, or we're well beyond our peers. I like what Councilman Plummer read about the current general plan, talking about the survey like this brother talked about. This survey that we saw concerned me as well. I found very little that was on that survey that I could check a box to. I was surprised that there were not more boxes on that survey that fell in line with the current general plan. Now, I guess if you're going to stand and complain, you ought to have some ideas, right? One idea, and this is in closing, I'm almost finished. I'm sure you already know about the governor's new initiative, Built Here initiative. He wants 35,000 single-family homes built in the state of Utah in the next 4 years, or 3 years, using prefab homes, not prefab homes of old, but nice quality, nice homes. You know, starter homes are a tried and proven plan used in many places in Utah. Back after World War II, they're still around. And these starter homes rotate from family to family, from generation to generation. And they are the answer to young families' dreams of having a home with a picket fence. It's a great place for them to start. I know that this doesn't change the price of the dirt, but it's a start. Centerville should run to the governor's office and try to get involved. Maybe you already are. And actually ask how we can use some of the parcels of land identified by Councilman Hayes in his presentation and fill them with some of these homes. Maybe it's 20 homes, maybe it's 40 homes. I volunteer to be part of that effort, to lead it if needed, to help make Centerville to help keep Centerville a wonderful place for ourselves and our families. Thank you.
Mayor,
Thank you, Dave.
if I may, Dave can stay up. I just have a couple questions for him.
Dave,
Is that appropriate, Mayor?
that's fine. Just, let's go get
that's all right.
too much into
I
detail
will.
on it.
Dave, in my presentation, are there any stated density calculations that I'm proposing?
No.
Okay. That was the first question. The second question was, could you please state 3 or 4 cities where you hope your children or grandchildren might choose to live?
I
Along the Wasatch
have
Front?
three or four already. Layton and Kaysville and Eagle Mountain, all great places for these young families.
Okay. And when's the last time you attended a city council in any of those meetings to promote growth for those future
I
generations?
have not.
Okay. Thank you.
Why would I do that?
I would hope that you would, if you're trying to find a place for your children to live, that you would promote growth in those cities in which you expect them
My
to.
children have a
make-
great place to live in
Mayor,
those
that's all
cities.
I've got.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
Hello, I'm Brian Richmond, 327 Windsor Lane. We elected everyone here to preserve the interests of Centerville and to serve the citizens of Centerville. I talked with Stuart Adams, who's the president of the Utah State Senate. He says there is no quota or no mandate for any city for high-density housing. There's none. I'm concerned that we have investors from out of our city come here, buy a piece of land, they make a profit on it, that's fine. They get a developer to come. He's not in our city. He comes, he builds this project, sometimes cuts corners, which then the people that buy this, they think it's a nice house. They buy this piece of property. They have a high mortgage, they have high HOA dues. They find out the roofs leak or the HVAC is a problem or the sprinklers are a problem or there's not enough parking, and then their HOA fees go up, double, triple, quadruple, and then they have a hard time paying their mortgage and their HOA fees. I believe that, I know we're going to talk about the Garlock property in another meeting, but we're cramming some pieces of housing in a small area we don't know what the intent of some of these investors are. Are they going to build condos? Are they going to build apartments? Are they going to sell part of the land? Are they going to do single family? Probably not. So I'm just concerned that we're having people from out of Centerville making major decisions in Centerville. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian.
Can I just, Brian? Yes. You mentioned something about the no density requirements. I agree with you on that. I have heard that rumor. I heard it last week at the open house. That is not coming from the city.
Okay.
As far as the,
I talked with Stuart Adams, who's the president of the state senate, on Monday on this issue.
but that's not, that information of, we've met our density requirement or other things, that is not a requirement by the state, so that's not coming from our staff or it's not coming from any council members that I am aware of.
I think what Councilman Hirsch is saying is reference what staff has said and what council members have said, because I'm not aware of anything either. But I appreciate you bringing.
So I agree
all
with
that
this
up,
gentleman here. We have a small area in Centerville. It's like a rectangle, right? Farmington to the north, the lake to the west, the mountains to the east, Bountiful to the south. We don't have a lot of room land-wise to grow. And we don't want to end up like Syracuse where they're just building high-density apartments along every street they can find. They have no way for utilities, for sewer or utilities or road or schools, or it's a big problem. And I appreciate your concern.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Anyone else for open session? Anybody online? All right. Thank you for all the comments. We appreciate hearing it, both as council and as mayor and as staff. We continue to encourage you to reach out to us on any of these questions. We see a lot of unrest in the community about a general plan. They happen all the time. This general plan is not defining density or any of that. It's a general plan. It's not a housing plan. It's a general plan, like I said before, to look at the future of our city, specifically in some areas such as the west side where there is land to be developed and that sort of thing, to get a feel of how we want our city to look, the proper balance of commercial in the right places, housing in the right places, parks in the right places. It's about quality of life, and that's what we're trying to do here is just create a general plan with residents' input that meets that quality of life. And then, as I said earlier, as individual decisions are made, in the general plan, it will not define density in the general plan. Those are similar like what we have in our presentation later on this meeting about the Garlock property as far as zoning. Those are decided by planning commission and by council as that comes about. So Dave, if you want to say anything else,
Just one question.
quickly come up here.
So at least once or twice in the presentation I listened to, there was mention of being pressure by the state for certain densities. That's what I heard. I don't know about it. I just remember hearing it during the council meeting that I listened to.
I don't know if it's density per se or just finding affordable housing options is what I believe the pressure is
There was
from the
like
state.
pressure. There's pressure is the word that I heard, pressure from the state.
Dave,
That meant, I don't know.
for a couple, 3 years now, since they passed the moderate income housing plan, we have to meet certain requirements that we submit to the state that we're meeting one of, 2 or 3 of their 15, 20 requirements, so.
26 that we can choose from,
Yeah,
and we have
that's
to
what it
choose
is.
3 to 5 that we're going to meet, which means, I don't want to go into a big discussion, this is open session, but we're required to look at other housing options, whether we provide financial assistance to lower income folks. We've got a whole list of things, being open-minded to greater densities to allow for more affordable housing, and we have to submit this plan once a year with benchmarks. So it may not say there's a quota, but there's definitely an expectation to explore those options.
I think
I'll
that's
leave
what
it
was
at that.
referred to by the other person. as
Yeah,
well.
and it's been a tricky balance for.
I'm sure it is.
Last 5 years now with this booming growth. We're at the legislature weekly. I mean, it's not just our city, but cities as a whole are trying to say, we want to make the decisions. But we're getting a lot of decisions that are coming to us made by the state. And
Thanks for all your work.
I don't want to belabor this, and I know we're maybe passing, but would it be okay if I maybe talked a little bit about what Steve from the governor's office talked about last week in the LPC meeting? Just in the last 5 or so years, affordable housing, we either need a 40% reduction in the cost of housing or a 70% increase in salaries, and neither one of those are going to happen, right? And so you're going from 3 times average annual salary to 6 times. That's where I think the pressure is coming from. Just for some data to kind of understand why the legislature is maybe looking for those options.
And maybe tell them who Steve is and what the
Steve works
appointment
for
was.
the governor's office of, he works for the governor's office. I don't remember his exact
Steve
title.
Waldrop?
Yeah, Waldrop.
Yeah.
Former state legislator.
So just a little additional information if that helps those that are here.
But I would go on
He's
record.
the senior advisor for housing strategy and innovation.
I would go on record to say that there's nothing that shows that density is affordable housing. You can rent an old home or buy an old home up here in Old Centerville way cheaper than you can live in the density on the other side of the freeway. So I'm not sure density is affordable housing. I'm not sure that they're even connected.
Thank you. All right, great discussion. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. You're welcome to stay. We're going to have a presentation, and then we're going to do the public hearing on the Garlock property. But we are excited to have a presentation from the Bountiful Davis Arts Center, and call you on up and tell us what you got going on.
Hi, everyone. My name is Serena Ergot. I am the Executive Director of the Bountiful Davis Arts Center, and I'm joined here with Kate Bradshaw, who is City Council for Bountiful City and also our board member. So thank you for giving me 10 minutes to speak with you about what we do. I would like
Thanks for letting us know White Kate was here. I thought she was a Planet Spy or something.
Oh, she's here from the Utah League of Cities in town. You're in trouble, Mayor.
So I'm so relieved.
Yeah. So I want to reintroduce you to the BDAC. We've been a cultural cornerstone of, slide 2, please. Thank you. We've been a cultural cornerstone in Davis County for 50 years now, providing arts education, exhibitions, and events that engage thousands of residents annually. And we serve not just Bountiful, but all of Davis County, including many of your constituents here in Centerville. Over the past year, BDAC has experienced tremendous growth, expanding our reach, increasing our accessibility, and strengthening our impact. Now, as we finalize our 2025-2028 strategic plan, we're carving a path for even greater outreach, deepening our community ties and reigniting partnerships with cities throughout Davis County, including Centerville. Next slide. Before I dive into the specifics of BDAC's programs, I want to take a moment and talk about why the arts matter in our communities. Studies consistently show that strong cultural arts presence provides economic benefits, educational impact, and community well-being. Americans for the Arts has said the nonprofit arts industry has generated over $166 billion annually in economic activity nationwide and supports millions of jobs. Investing in the arts isn't just about culture, it's about community vitality and making a place where people love to live. Students involved in the arts perform better academically, develop critical thinking skills, and score higher in standardized tests according to the National Endowments for the Arts Studies. And the Urban Institute study says that access to the arts reduces stress, increases civic engagement, and fosters social connection. And this is something we are strongly in hopes to build over the next year in Bountiful, at the Bountiful Davis Arts Center. For 5 decades, BDAC has been the organization fulfilling these needs in Davis County, and our programs not only enrich lives, but also contribute to the economic and social well-being of the cities we serve. Slide 4. So what does this look like in action? I have some show and tell items for you that Jennifer will hopefully pass around. Our largest and most widely recognized event is Summerfest. Summerfest brings together artists, performers, and cultural groups from across the world, engaging thousands of people across Davis County, including everyone here behind me. I hope you have all heard of Summerfest. This has been going on for many years now, far beyond when I was born. And we had a hard time over COVID, but we want to rebuild that, but it takes help. The Davis School District Art Exhibition and Contest, next slide please. This program showcases and celebrates the creativity of the young artists from our families here in Davis County, offering them the public recognition they deserve and a professional exhibition experience. This year we are hiring a guest curator to look at all of the students' work and choose the top 3 performers in each of our 8 categories. We've been doing this also for a very long time. Slide 6. And then our exhibitions. BDAC features 4 distinct galleries, each serving a unique purpose. The main gallery, in 2025, we are curating and beginning to curate our first exhibitions. This is the first for BDAC. These exhibitions will be based on themes featuring diverse styles and mediums to enrich and provide varied art experiences. The front and annex galleries will showcase individual artists, and these galleries provide a platform for both professional and emerging artists in our communities who may not otherwise have exhibition opportunities. And if you guys are paying attention to the arts, you'll know that in 2020, after COVID, the Alice Gallery and the Rio Gallery both shut down, limiting even more opportunities for our artists. And then unfortunately, they moved to New York and LA. We'd rather keep them here. So then also we have the Underground Gallery, new for 2025. This space is dedicated to fostering local talent and strengthening our community bonds. We are partnering with other nonprofit organizations and with artists right here in our neighborhoods. We like to show their work. We have, for example, Turn City Center coming to show an exhibition of their at-risk individuals and their artwork, because we find art very cathartic to make. And also we have seniors watercolor painting class who will be showing in our underground gallery, so I invite you to come see. BDAC, we keep all of our exhibitions free and open to the public because we believe art is a human right. Everyone deserves access to creativity and cultural expression. And then 7, Family Art Night. These are free, hands-on experience, and we invite families from all over Davis County to come and create art together, because making arts is another way to engage with creative learning in your everyday life. Slide 8. In 2025, we are expanding our educational offerings to provide an even greater access to arts and learning for free. These new programs will offer a blend of experiences designed for all ages, including panel discussions with artists and curators, but also experts who are talking about the themes that you'll find in our main gallery curations. We'd like to host community artist meetups to connect local creatives to each other here in our communities, and also art-making experiences for youth, adults, and our aging parents, and it's all tied to our main gallery exhibitions. Education is a critical part of our mission, and we are committed to ensuring that these programs remain free and accessible for every individual and family who wants to participate. However, we need the support of communities we serve to make this possible. So we'd like to strengthen our partnership with you and throughout Davis County. It's more important than ever, and I've seen firsthand how municipal investment in the arts strengthens communities, just as Bountiful and Centerville came together to support Centerpoint Theater. This ensures a thriving home where the performing arts can thrive in South Davis County. PDAC plays a complementary role in the arts ecosystem, specializing in visual arts education and exhibitions, a cultural resource that is not provided by any other group in the area. With continued growth in our free community programs, educational initiatives, and exhibitions, BDAC is seeking funding from Centerville to help us sustain and create more impact for people like you all and throughout our county. By investing in BDAC, Centerville will be ensuring continued art access for our residents, strengthening a regional partnership that benefits our entire county, and helping BDAC expand and enhance our program for years to come. BDAC board member and city council member Kate Bradshaw here has encouraged me to reach out to all of our councils within Davis County in hopes that they can recognize our value as an arts center and our value in the community as well. Okay, so let's go to slide 10. Yeah, there we go. So in closing, BDAC has been a vital cultural resource for 50 years now, and with your support, we can continue to grow Centerville's residents in even greater ways. I'm happy to provide more details or answer any questions, or just art in general, if you guys would like. Thanks.
So I want to ask you a question. Are you still open to recitals and other events
Yes.
taking place?
Yes, absolutely.
I've had a great experience of going to recitals there, and you've hosted us for a council mayor's meeting one time.
Yes.
And you do such a nice job with the
Thank you.
facility, and it's just like, wow, I didn't know this here. So I'm just commending doing those things. I think it's a great thing and exposing people.
Thank you.
What you
Yeah,
have going
part of
on.
our mission too, and right now we're working on freeing up more space because we do feel like we are a community second living room. We want people to come, look at art, enjoy their stay, hang out, use our space for study or for meetings, and also recitals. And we think that's very important for our community to have that space.
So just a question, because we're Centerpoint Theater focused.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do any cross-marketing with Centerpoint so that you can kind of, you're talking about recitals or just the arts community? There's a lot of, we get tens of thousands of visitors that come to the Centerpoint. And
Yes, that is something I am certainly exploring in 2025.
Okay. Yes,
Several
okay.
times. We've had great conversations about arts in all of its forms, but have not yet broached the conversation of cross-promoting.
Okay.
But it is something on my mind. I think this is something where we can share advertising space, their program, our donor wall. I think these are all conversations that I hope to have this
Okay.
year.
And then the next question.
Can I, before you ask that
Absolutely,
question, can I
yes.
just piggyback on that? Because that was one of the things I had to ask you about. I know that at the Rose Wagner Theater, at least with regard to Ryrie Woodbury, when they have events, they will actually bring in artists and display the works at events. And I was sort of
That's what I
thinking in
was
terms
gonna-
of this is an open
yeah.
year. Oh, I was going where you were going.
Yeah.
So I was
But-
not just the cross marketing, but actually using that space to help promote your artists and actually getting the work in that space. I was wondering if you'd thought about that.
And are you speaking about visual artists specifically that
Yes,
we
ma'am.
exhibit?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We have our opening receptions because we're rotating our exhibits all the time. And as I mentioned, we have curated exhibitions where we have several artists. We also have our 2 galleries where we have individual artists. They are almost always present during our opening receptions. We bring in a great number of visitors, especially from Salt Lake County, where most of them reside. And we have the opportunity for residents to come and have conversations, talk about the artwork, enjoy some refreshments.
But that's at your space, that's not at
Yes.
Centerpoint. So what I am suggesting is
Yeah, getting something in Centerpoint in a little.
physically
yeah.
bring your stuff into Centerpoint where people that walk in the Centerpoint doors can see your visual art.
Interesting.
And I know
This is
this,
on loan from.
correct.
Yeah, and just maybe a
Like-
few items. You're not gonna have a lot of space, but it's at least something.
So I'm on the Ryrie Woodbury Dance Company board,
Great.
and we do this in connection with some of our performances. And I've always thought that it was a great way to help promote local
I'm
artists.
going to email you later.
So the second question, sorry, Jane,
No, you finish
was,
your stuff.
I'll just get right to the point. That's not surprising. Is there an amount that Bountiful Davis Art Community is?
I have considered an amount.
Okay.
We
Are
need
you willing
something.
to tell us
Yes,
here?
I will tell you. I want something that is impactful for BDAC so that we can grow on it. And we think something reasonable, considering that Bountiful has in the past also supported Centerville Theater. We would like to have $10,000 for the year 2025 to help support these free programs. And it's especially helpful as we build our free educational programs.
From Centerville alone or,
Centerville alone.
okay. And then to your point, Bountiful does provide wrap grant to Centerpoint?
yes, they do.
On an annual basis?
Yes, they
Okay,
do.
thank you.
I was just going to say, I'm assuming you do have also private donations and contributions through various types of programs. One of my very most favorite things that I ever saw done at the BDAC was when my children were asked to participate to help pay for one of the Steinway pianos. They did a 24-hour
Yes. that was
piano.
really good.
The piano was being played constantly for 24 hours. We were there at 2 a.m. What I love about that is we are teaching a younger generation some appreciation for the arts. So I would just ask, if you haven't done something like that recently, that was a wonderful opportunity for my children who are now adults, and I would love to see something like that happen again where they contribute. They also participated in a monster concert at Centerpoint to pay for uprights for their rehearsal rooms.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So
Awesome.
I do think there's lots of opportunity also to teach our youth beyond the classes, the part of, they went out
Civic
and
engagement.
sought for donations from neighbors and family, and that was, it was based on this 24 hours of piano music, which was a really great opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah.
I do want to let the council know, we have donated in the past, and I don't remember the amounts. One is it was 5,000, maybe it was 500. I can't remember. I was just trying to look up the budget. Big difference.
1-0, but big
I
difference.
think it was 5,000 we have donated in the past.
Yes.
So it's nothing that we haven't donated to before. I'm not even quite sure why we stopped donating, to be honest with you. No request?
Brand new, so I will say I
I
don't
I
know.
wonder if there wasn't a request, because we wouldn't have denied it. It would have definitely been brought forward to council, so I appreciate coming forward. We have donated in the past. Just want to let you all know that.
So Serena, a couple of comments if I may, Mayor. Number one,
Yeah.
I love your logo. Like, can I just say how much I love your logo? And I have, now I will make a confession, I have driven by your space more times than I can count. And I have never been inside of it. I didn't even know what it was. No, I've never been inside. I didn't even know what it was. I was like, that's a cool logo. And I drove by and that's about it. So there's my confession, and I apologize for my ignorance. With regard to these paintings and works that you're exhibiting, are these things that, it sounds like I can come in and see them for free. Are these
For
things
free,
for
yes.
sale? I mean, are people purchasing these? Is it more like you're just coming in to see them and that's it? Again,
Yeah,
pardon my
so
ignorance.
no, it's not a problem. The work that we have on display by our living artists, which we 95% of the time show work by living artists, those are they are for sale, as long as the artist has marked it as such. But we aren't really operating in like a gallery space where we promote the sale, but it is there, and we can also work with the artists too.
And
So,
is that a
yes.
way that you guys get revenue? Like you?
It is one revenue source, however, it's not very great. We're very generous with the artists when it comes.
Yeah, I was curious. And then the other thing is that have you coordinated with our city to advertise? It sounds like from what you presented, there are amazing things, panel discussions, community artist meetups, art making experiences, things that I think that our residents would be interested in. And I would love to see that promoted to our residents.
I would love to promote it to your residents. Marketing takes money. And to be able to spread it widely and to more people, especially those who don't already engage with the Arts Center or those who aren't really a part of art in general, they're not paying attention. And those are harder to reach, and sometimes it just costs a little bit more to have that sustained advertising. Yeah.
Sure. I would like to, and I appreciate the sales pitch there. I would also just argue too that getting bodies in, again, to see the works, maybe you find people who want to purchase them, or you find people who fall in love with your space and want to donate. So, yeah, more bodies seems like a good win-win for everyone.
100%. Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Thank you
for
for
having
presentation.
me.
Great questions, council. Kate, you gonna add something?
Mayor, if it would be appropriate, I wanted to just chime in at the end of her presentation as a board member. Our South Davis, and for the record, Kate Bradshaw.
Thanks. I'm glad you attend these things, so you remember to do it.
I don't get enough of city council meetings. I was wondering if I could. Since we're on opposite cycles. South Davis community has always been really amazing at figuring out how to do various projects together so that we can have really neat regional things that we probably wouldn't be able to sustain having all of the same things as individual cities. And so we've partnered, whether it's on South Davis Recreation District or Centerpoint Theater or the BDAC on coming together to help
Or the
fund these
Veterans Park,
organizations.
don't forget that.
The Veterans Park is another great example. Thanks for pointing that one out. And so as the BDAC is coming out of a time period during COVID where organizations like that saw reductions in funding and ability to serve that community, where they're reaching back out, reestablishing, wanting to make sure they connect with surrounding cities and making sure that our neighboring cities see this as the regional opportunity it is for the arts. My husband happens to be an art teacher at Viewmont High School with students, showing work at this facility and show. And so would just really love if there's any opportunity for you to consider this as you head into budget cycles. I know that no city ever has as much money as they would like for all of the things, the wishes and the wants and the needs, but would hope you'd consider it, and then would love to have you check out some of the opportunities at the facilities. The idea of advertising, we at Bountiful have been working to coordinate any of our city social media and our city newsletter to include some of these events, and I'd love to see all of the surrounding cities do that as well, because some of these free opportunities for family and particularly for youth are really awesome. My favorite for young Jedis is the May the 4th art class. So that'll be coming up soon. Keep it on your calendars. And thank you for letting me take just a few minutes in your council meeting.
Thank you. Thanks, both of you. Appreciate it. All right, let's go to the business item section. Let's go to our public hearing matter. This is item number 1 in the business item section. This is going to be a public hearing matter regarding the zoning map amendment on the Garlock property. As always, we usually start this by a presentation from staff, and then the applicant gets to present, and then we go to the public hearing. So, staff, come on up.
Hello, City Council. Thanks for letting me come up. So, my style is that I typically assume that you guys have read the packet, and I just hit on the key points to keep it quick and concise. So, the applicant, Betty Jo Garlock, is requesting a zoning map amendment associated with the subject property. The project is currently zoned agriculture low. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property to residential low. Previously, the applicant applied for a higher density zoning, but after the Planning Commission recommended denial to the City Council, the applicant withdrew the application and immediately applied for a lower density rezone to residential low. This new application was recently reviewed by the Planning Commission on January 22nd, 2025. Following a public hearing regarding the request, the Planning Commission approved a recommendation for City Council to approve of the rezone request on a 5-to-1 basis. Any questions?
Can I ask why the 1? What was their reason?
So, it sounded like, based on their discussion, was that the nay came from the place of wanting to respect the people who voiced concern, and as a whole, the Planning Commission wanted to respect that. So I think that council, or that commission member was voicing that.
3 of the aye votes were actual neighbors in the area, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, they all mentioned that during the Planning Commission meeting.
So in looking at the map, it fits what else is around it, is that correct?
Accurate, yes.
Residential low?
Yep, residential low. There is some residential medium that is a little bit farther away, but within a 350 feet radius. I think in the packet that I created, most of the properties are residential low.
And just
There-
for the public's standpoint, just looking over the tables of use, going from AL to RL on a height is the same, 35 feet. Accessory building height is the same at 20 feet. The front yard setbacks are 5 feet less in residential low as opposed to agricultural low. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, and then on rear yard setbacks, residential low is 20 feet versus agricultural being 30 feet. And then interior side yards, there's a 2-foot differential between the two zones. Okay.
I will point out that on the flip side, the density does go up. So agriculture low is 2 units per acre, residential low is 4 units per acre, and the amount of square footage for the parcel does go from agriculture low to being a half acre to residential low being I don't know that one off the top of my head, but it does go down smaller. So I just want to put that out on the flip side as well.
Okay, any further questions for staff now? The applicant here? Come on up, introduce yourself, and it's your chance to say anything if so inclined.
Well, hi, I'm Betty Jo Garlock. I too live in the neighborhood, and I have for the last almost 14 years. I actually lived behind this property, or on the west-south side, and then my brother stayed there and raised my kids on the other side of the block. I've known the family that's owned this property for a long time. The Russells actually used to own pretty much the entire block, almost to Main Street, so they've sold most of this land
two developers. So this is kind of like the last piece that is owned by the Russells. And we kind of collaborated. I think a lot of people had wanted to buy portions of this property over the years. And in the last 3 years, we've finally decided to let me buy it so that I can basically present or develop the land into 4 properties. Our goal really was to kind of create more affordable housing. I wanted to, my reason for applying for residential high was to do townhomes. You know, it's working in real estate for the last decade. I helped lots of families buy properties pretty much all through Utah County, all the way to North Ogden. And it's really tough, especially the last few years. And so I kind of saw a vision here where Fourth West is super busy, and we have townhomes literally across the street, and you know, assisted living. I mean, you can stand on that street, you can see Walmart, Home Depot. There's businesses. It's such a busy road. I thought that this would be a great place for some townhomes, single-family townhomes for sale. And my target was really to build more affordable housing. Why? Because it's expensive to buy in Davis County. The price of land is really high, which makes it really hard to build. And then since COVID, supplies are also really expensive. You know, you do hear the flip side of these older homes that people can buy, but it's really hard to live in a home that's 50, 60, 70 years old without putting a lot of money in. So I'm aware of all the programs in South Davis County with the grant program. It is extremely hard to get approved for that grant. You have to make less than $70,000, I believe, for a household of 4 to qualify. And you need more than $70,000 salary to be able to afford. So most loans are, you know, especially FHA, which is your first-time home buyer program, you know, you can go up to about 49%. That's half your income to be able to afford. Anyway, I didn't get approved for that. I was hoping that I could put in about 8 to 12 townhomes and stay on this project through the end. And, you know, if 4 is the max I can do, I would like to just build 4 homes. This property is a lot of work, and it's got beautiful trees that I'd like to keep, but from the street, it's just tucked away, and there's this teeny tiny house, and I think that I can make this lot really, really nice with some 4 houses that would become part of that neighborhood.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant?
Ms. Garlock, are you planning on living in one of the homes?
I have not decided that yet. I might keep one. My brother lives literally on the south side, but it just kind of depends. I also own 308 Windsor Lane, so it's, if I can get that sold, I might move into one of these, yeah.
What are you looking for as your price point on these homes?
Well, if it was a townhomes, I was hoping to stay in that under 550 range, just because that's more affordable, but that really changes it with quarter-acre lots. So I have to meet with the planning and zoning to basically create the plat map to do the papered lots and kind of see. I believe the minimum square feet for residential in this neighborhood is 2,000 square feet, which is not very small. So if I can't reduce the size of the lots and the size of the homes, that's really going to push that price point up. And there's not much I can do about that if I can't do smaller than 2,000 square foot homes. So that's on the, and I mean, I can review that with planning and zoning, but from what I understand, minimum square feet is 2,000, height 35. The lots will be a quarter acre each, maybe a little smaller depending on curbing, gutter, roads, but that's 4 lots. So quarter acre lots with a 2,000 square foot. I haven't gotten that far to pencil price.
You got questions for staff or go to public hearing? You look puzzled.
Well, I did wonder if we actually, do we have an ordinance that, like, says she has to have a minimum size for a quarter acre lot?
Yes.
Mike
It's
is
a 10,
nodding.
I don't think there's one.
A minimum size what, Gina?
Size of home.
or lot?
Oh,
We have,
not of a home, of a
we have,
lot.
we
So
have,
there
right,
is-
but she's saying 2,000 square foot home, so I'm saying, I don't think that's right. I think you can build whatever.
Yeah, I'd have to look. I
Actually,
think the
it's in the
minimum,
table of uses.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I believe it said 2,000.
Buildable area minimum, I'm just pulling it up, it's 2,000 square feet. That's in the-
Is that the footprint then?
No, that's total
It
square.
just
That's
says
total
buildable-
square feet.
Yeah.
So it could be,
You
it could
can't
be
have 1,000
1,000 square feet on the main floor,
Yeah.
Correct.
which would be a
Yeah.
small home.
And then
This is
buildable
small.
area minimum.
Yeah, it
is
is
the
small.
width ratio requirement, 2 to 1 or 1 to
Okay.
2. So going with the flooring.
Yep.
All right,
So are you
online.
going, not that it matters how I vote one way or the other, because I think you have your rights. Are you planning on developing these homes, or are you just selling the building lots?
I plan to stay as long as I can. So I have developers that I'll be working with. I still have so far to go. The changing to the residential low was the first step. Once I can get the papered lots, then I can start meeting with, I've got about 2 or 3 builders I'm still interviewing to kind of look at different plans that what would fit here. My hope was to do either low or higher density so that we could do more like cottage homes, single level cottage homes. That just seems like a lot of land. So I was hoping to get 6 to 8, something more than 4 to kind of do smaller lots, smaller homes. And I don't know how I could get that.
But it is conducive with all of the home
Yeah.
properties around you, so that's what the people that live there expected that to, I think,
Correct.
someday be developed as, because that's what, I remember when that whole piece was a piece of farmland,
Yep.
and it's all the rest of it has been zoned the same, so I feel good about giving you the same as everybody else got.
Sydney, I've got a couple questions if anybody doesn't have any more questions for applicant. Or we can go back and.
One question, is Brighton Homes one of the builders
It
that
is
you're
not.
interviewing? Thank you.
It's none of the big builders. I won't be using Ivory, Symphony. It's local builders in either Weber, Davis County, smaller custom home builders that I've worked with in the past with other clients. I'm still interviewing. I do have other GCs that are in Utah County that I'm collaborating with.
That's it.
Do you have a question before I go to public hearing for staff?
Yeah, just for staff.
For staff.
You
Right
can
now.
stay there,
Yeah,
sit
you can
down,
stay
whatever
there.
you want to do.
I don't know. So Sydney, just stop me because the matter of tonight is a zoning ordinance. It is not a site plan approval.
Absolutely not, yes.
And so a lot of my questions in my mind, because I go straight to how is this actually going to be built, I'm trying to think through really the access to the property, and will it be a private road or a public street? And then depending on which way the homes face, will they be rear yard or side yards next to the adjacent parcels that face? So those are some things that I had questions about, but I don't know that you can answer those questions without seeing a site plan first.
That is accurate. Just because this is particularly for the rezone, a subdivision will come to you guys eventually. So that you guys will see this development, if it is approved, come through past the planning commission. So, not anymore, just kidding.
Correct, state code doesn't.
So, never mind. But right now, at this time, we are not discussing
Okay, yeah.
subdivisions.
Sydney, the only application in front of us is for residential low. Does staff have any concerns that the development, is there limitations on the development of this property given the size and that there will only be 4 units there? I mean, did you guys look at this and say, like, hey, yeah, we could put 4 here, but it would even be better if we could do, I know people are gonna freak out at me, but like a medium density here so that it would flow better in terms of the setup of the units that are built on this land? I'm not asking this question very well, but
So you're asking, you're kind of getting where I would go. If I was in somebody else's position, you'd want to create more of a community feel, and Betty has her private property rights, and I think we
Right.
recognize that. But boy, it would be nice if a neighbor or two would say, you know, let's all do this together and create a more cohesive development. Is that what you're asking?
yeah, like, because you started asking about the layout, and
Yeah.
I started wondering, like, okay, 4 is this way, and she's saying that it's gonna be really limited in the way that she lays it out, but if it was to go 6 to 8, then we could combine some things and create some more green space and have some better flow within this property. Is that something that staff looked at all, or you guys just did not because the only issue was a residential low application, period, full stop, didn't look at anything beyond that?
Staff definitely holistically looks at projects. I really respect that there were a lot of different viewpoints that came in from people who were opposed to this, people who were for this. And when we look at the long-term plan and we look at the layout of the zoning, we like to do what is like staggering type of zoning practices. So the density-wise, we are looking at the density and we're thinking, okay, surrounding it is residential low. We're also seeing that there is some potential for residential medium. That was a thought in staff's mind was, okay, there could be potential for residential medium. That is something that if we were to, once again, just look at the property, residential low seems to be the best fit for the property as it is right now. In terms of layout, we do not look at that until we get an application. We did look at different types of design ideas, but nothing really formally, so I don't know if that answers.
It was probably an unfair question, because again, the only application in front of us right now is residential low, so that's all we can and probably should be looking at.
Can I add just one amended comment there too? When we do an application, like a rezone request, we look at the general plan. Ironically, we're back to.
Yes, I was thinking about this.
And the general plan itself gave us recommendations based on the neighborhood quadrant, and it does recommend very explicitly residential low.
Okay,
So because it does, that's why staff took the position we did with the.
that's good to know. I appreciate that clarification.
Great. Should we go to the public hearing portion? All right, we are now going to have a public hearing on the zoning map amendment related to the Garlock property from 535 South, 400 West. That means any member of the public is welcome to come forth and address this specific issue. Just once again, state your name and where you're from for the record, anyone.
Brian Richmond, 327 Windsor Lane. My house is adjacent to their Betty Jo's property. Betty Jo, no offense. I love you, but I don't agree with you. And so if I say anything offensive, I don't mean to offend you. But a lot of things that she said are not true. First off, I've talked with all the neighbors around this piece of property. There's not one neighbor that isn't for the rezoning of more density on this property. There's a house there, she wants to put 4 more. To go to 6 to 8 is just ridiculous. I'm sorry, but you don't live there. You're not right next to. I've lived in Centerville for over 32 years. I forgot your name. Sharaya has a historic home on the register that's on the other side of her. Betty Jo's moved out of our city. She lives in Lehigh with her boyfriend, right? Her boyfriend is the developer. Her brother that she's talking about, the house that she used to live in, that's where her ex-husband lives. She has a house across the street from me that she bought also that she lived there for a little while, but now it's an Airbnb or rental, correct? Am I right? Part-time. She talks about affordable housing and making this a nice little development. Well, 550,000 times 4 is what? Over $2 million. And she wants to keep the existing house as a rental. She's not going to move in any one of these houses. I'm sorry, but you're not. Maybe for a year to meet the requirements of the tax code, but there is not one. I would like to know who the three people that said, yeah, I approve the neighbors, because there isn't. Everybody I've talked to is against this property, right, Shreya? Anybody that you've talked to? There's logistics problems of, okay, so there's an acre of ground. Is there going to be inflow, outflow for the streets? Is it going to be available for like a fire truck to go down? Are they going to pay for the sewer utilities? Are they going to sell the land, or is she going to rent it out? I mean, if we change the ordinance, she can do anything she wants. Oh, yeah, I was going to build townhomes, but now I'm going to rent it out. I think we don't have enough information to make this decision yet. I think we need more information from you, Betty Jo, on exactly what you're going to do. It's not going to be consistent, whatever the word is, to the neighbors. The neighbors don't want it. We don't. I mean, I'm sorry, but we don't want it. And I think it's sort of rude for someone to come in, buy a piece of ground that doesn't live in Centerville, that, yeah, she wants to make money on it. We've offered to buy it, but she doesn't want that because it's not enough money. For an investor, the investor's job is to make money, period. They don't care where they do it. They don't have any teeth in the game. Her boyfriend is the developer. He doesn't live in Centerville. He lives in Lehigh. He doesn't have any teeth in the game. So we have people outside of our city making decisions for our city. I just think it's very wrong. And I oppose this project. It's just not a good project. Whether it's low density and medium density is just crazy. So, I mean, to get 4 houses back there with the existing house is a challenge. Thank you.
If it's an
You wouldn't be able
acre,
to do
she can only have 4.
Total.
She can't get another 4. If it's an acre piece of property, then she would only get 3 houses plus the existing house. And she'll have to figure out how she's going to put that roadway in. And yes, the fire department will have to sign off on it, that they can get a fire truck back in where it's supposed to be. So us just giving her this isn't giving her carte blanche to whatever she wants. She still is going to have to meet all of the setbacks, and so it should be equivalent to what your neighborhood is, because it's the same thing. It's residential low, and that's what she's getting, and she has to make that work. She has to be able to put the roads in. She has to be able to, so she can knock that house down, then she can build 4 houses. If she needs to do that in order to put a road in, I have no idea, because I'm not a developer. But, so residential low is what is in the surrounding area of you. And I agree that that would be, in our general plan, that is what we should be looking at, and nothing higher.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Others?
Hi there, my name's Shreya Fulton. I live next door at 571 400 West. Thank you very much for giving your time this evening to be here and listen to us. In the neighborhood general plan right now, as it has like the characteristics for each of the neighborhoods, it says that our stretch of land is to provide for a rural sense of community. If you actually look at these plots over here, we keep saying that everything around it is residential low, but that's not quite true. Over the back fence, those are residential low, but if you look, the properties to the north, the northeast, the south, and the west are actually all still agricultural. And so that would be putting that in that spot and kind of encroaching that from the back part of the neighborhood. The the Russells that sold this land, I was very, very good friends with them, and they said, I'm only selling it to her because she's promised that she's not going to develop it. She's going to work with the rest of you because she wants to put a house on there. And that's hearsay. Who knows what arrangement they had in between that. But all of the neighbors do want to buy portions of it or to go in together and buy some of this land. And so it is, we can't tell somebody else what to do with their land, but it is hard when there is somebody else trying to come in and change what we all bought to be around, right? When I bought my house, it was surrounded by agricultural land, and in the city plan, that rural sense was talked about there. In the zoning I'm not even sure what it is, but in the zoning things, it talks about agricultural land. The purpose of the zoning is to protect and preserve agricultural lands. And so when we are making this move from going from residential, or from agricultural into residential, I just have to acknowledge that we don't get that agricultural land back. That's all the agricultural land that we have in this area, and that is something that makes us unique. Had this land been sold and put on the market at, a fair market, somebody would have wanted to buy that agricultural land for that purpose. So another thing I want to point out is it would be a density increase of 100%. While we can't put what plans, there are out there. She did include plans. She did include some pictures of where those would be. And so 2 of the properties would face the north and 2 of the properties would face the south. And so then in my backyard, I then have, 2 new neighbors that are overlooking my my fence over into my bedrooms, my bathrooms, and my backyard, which is really private. The other thing is we can go up to 35 feet, right? We can do that now, but the house that's there now is 1 story tall. So we're talking dramatic increases in how tall these buildings are going to be. I've got skylights. That is awful for me. She mentioned the trees. She'd love to preserve them. We've got maple trees that have lined the back portion of my property, the adjacent properties, a mile in each way. They've been there for more than 75 years, and so those are slowly just being cut down. And so, the properties there, they're still that line right now. Privacy, huge concern. The traffic, there's already a ton of traffic, as she referenced, on that road. The city plan said that it wouldn't need any adjustment with that, but pedestrians walk in that area, and it's already really, really challenging to get onto the road. Water use, you guys are under a ton of pressure for water use as well as density. I'm concerned about putting 4 units on this property as opposed to just the 2 that could go there now. I think that's a wiser use for our water in that area. I want to be focused on solutions too. I don't want this just to be sold to some developer that's going to push you guys harder. Money's going to go to a corporation. And so I do want to find some kind of mutual agreement, but that's kind of been my issue with this whole thing is there's been no collaboration. There's been alludes to the severe misrepresentations that are in the signed affidavit that has been submitted to this body 3 times at this point, this in the City Planning Commission. And I'm sorry, but that's just not fair that someone gets to just come and say stuff that's not true and misrepresent me, a neighbor, in that. So can't do anything to control that, but I'm saying those impacted around, we're not for this. We'd love to see it stay agricultural and see someone there that wants to use it for that purpose. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Others? All right, if seeing no others, I will close the public hearing on this matter. And in accordance with our procedures, the applicant, if desired, can respond to public comment if you want to, one way or another.
Yes. So just to kind of map out this lot, it's 150 feet wide. It's 290 feet deep.
What did you say the width is, Betty Jo?
The width is 150, and that's frontage to 4th West. So there's, that house is a bit set further back than the normal residential. What was it like? It's further back. It's quite a bit further back. If you look on Google, there's actually a road that goes all the way through. It U's all the way around. And then there's a massive barn in the back that's about 1,000 square feet. The trees that border the east are actually on the other neighbor's property. They're gorgeous, they're huge, they cover up everything. There's quite a bit of few dead trees that are on the north side, and those neighbors have cut down most of them. In fact, we've had some pretty aggressive winds that have, those branches are huge, they're very big. I think they said they got a quote for about 50 grand to get those moved. So we just kind of watch these. Luckily, there's nothing that they can fall on. But there is quite a bit of space for a full road to go through, depending on how we map out the lots. We could go straight down the middle. The goal, I have more water shares because it is agricultural. So as soon as it goes to residential, those will get decreased. I think if anyone doesn't know, the majority of water waste is from agriculture, like an excessive amount is wasted by agriculture. So this actually does help our secondary water issues. Lot less water. I actually turned off most of the water because most of it's just dirt. I mean, Handy Andy's is another property that was rezoned to medium. They try to get high, and they just decided not to push because of a lot of the residents not being happy about it. That lot is a little bit wider, and it's not as deep. They're doing 6 units. I mean, it's going to be pretty wide, but there's plenty of room for the road. Again, depending on how we map out the roads, I could have 2 front-facing lots, 1 road that goes in the back, but that hasn't been quite figured out. There's lots of different ideas. Like originally, having a road go straight down the middle with some green space in the back that would tee so that we could have no issues with fire truck. But 150 feet wide, there's plenty of setback for everything. So I have looked quite a bit for that. My partner's not a developer. We've actually worked with many. I've been selling homes for 10 years, and I have worked with over 24 different developers and all over the place. So I have been collaborating with a lot of people just to see ideas, but nothing's confirmed because I know this is step 1 and I can't move forward until I know what I can do. So the townhouse idea did make more sense because it allowed me to make 4 homes on each side. Her property that's next to me, there are 3 garages that border my lot. There's no way anyone can see that far. So I'm not sure what the concern is. I do, respect that she doesn't want any further development, but it's such a big lot. If you drive past this house, you haven't been able to see anything because there's a 6-foot fence or 5.5-foot fence from the front. I have 2 fences. I do have a renter here. And that's been, the city knows that, but there is significant amount of land here that's just sitting. Handy Andy's is the second property that's like that. If you're on 4th West, across the street from her property, which is Jeffrey Drive, that house there owns a 1/2 acre, and then they have a huge piece of grass. And I've lived there for a long time. It's normally just overgrown grass. They've had goats before, but most of the properties around here are just not taken care of. So this would way more improve the property, and it does fit the neighborhood. I'm on Windsor. My lot's only 0.2. Every property in that whole neighborhood is less than a 1/4 acre, less. So most of the properties are 0.15 to 0.18. There's not very many properties that are a bit more than 0.2. So these, if I only get 4, these will be significantly bigger lots than the majority of the neighborhood. So that's mainly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're at the point, if there's any further questions from council for staff or the applicant, or responses to what the public may have said.
I have some questions regarding infrastructure.
For who? Staff or applicant?
Staff. Have we, Sydney? Yeah. Have we discussed, or has the discussion been made or had with Public Works or whomever that would know if the infrastructure, the sewer, the water lines, are they substantial to accommodate development on this road?
Yeah, not at this time, no.
When you say that, are you talking about the main line going along 400 West, or are you talking about the actual sewer infrastructure into the property that's on the developer to put in?
We typically don't look at that for a rezone. We look at that during the subdivision process.
Right, okay. I'm just trying to clarify, I guess. Maybe the
Yeah.
question wasn't for you, more for Brian. What are you
No,
exactly
I
asking?
appreciate that. So obviously, yeah, the lot is not going to have enough of that infrastructure there at the time for this subdivision. Is the infrastructure on the road adequate for this development?
I don't suspect we'll have any issues with that.
Okay.
But again,
I
even if
can't
there is
answer-
interest, even if there is interest in doing that, it'll be the responsibility of the applicant to upsize that pipe to make it adequate, right? So that's a cost they have to bear. So as they go through the process, we'll evaluate it at the DRC meetings and say, okay, we're not there yet, so the cost is on you to upsize this pipe. That'll be borne by the applicant, not the city. So we have plenty of water rights.
But
The
when,
infrastructure.
but when pipes, like main trunk lines in the road are built, they usually are considering some future potential development. I'm not suggesting that's the case in this case, but they don't just put enough for, what was there. They plan for 20, I mean, that's why we have master plans for water and sewer and.
How old is this infrastructure, do we know? In the road?
If you're talking specifically to sewer, it's probably been there a really long time.
So they may not have had something that would be that size based
The
upon
way,
the
the way that
zoning.
they're keeping up with sewer, they are doing the cast in place,
Mhm.
like they're doing liners and it actually is increasing the capacity because of the way that they're done.
I guess I have a question for the applicant. Councilmember Summer Hayes mentioned a larger development that may be more all-inclusive. Have you had any discussions with the neighbors to the north and the neighbors to the south? And is that something that you would be able to work out with them?
When you say larger, do you mean like the townhome idea?
No, I'm talking the incorporation of the lot to the south that is on, I can't read that, is that Jeffrey Drive? And then
Yes.
the lot to the north, looks like 3 lots to the north.
You don't want to take the lot to the south, but that's the historic home.
That's the historic home,
historical
okay.
property.
Thank
She's
you.
not going anywhere,
Yeah.
at least in my estimation.
So I have had some, but I mean, no one's really wanted to discuss, hey, what's the development that I want to do? And I said, I want to develop it. I want to put 4 homes here. They've asked, am I willing to sell it? Am I willing to piece it out? I've had several offers from neighbors just to buy sections. And I don't want to sell sections. I want to create a really cool little subdivision right here that
Did
can bring
you
families.
buy this on the market, or did you buy it in a private sale?
I bought it at private sale with the owners, the parents.
Did you let them know that you were going to put 1 home on it?
Oh, yes. So I have, no. So they know. So Michael and Kimberly Russell are the owners. This was owned by his father, who they've had this land for many years. So they built that little house, and they owned most of that development before. Most of those homes are from the 80s, and mine's a 91. So everything in there is not like crazy old. So they are very aware. In fact, we've even collaborated on calling it, if I have a road through the middle, it'll be the Russell Cove, Russell Street. So I am in collaboration with them. In fact, I do have skin in this game. I had cross-collateralized this with a bit of money into this property. So I put everything into this. It's not investor money. It's not, this is a plan that I have created with them, and they did not want to piece it out to neighbors. We had planned on building a cool subdivision here.
So you're saying, did the Russells build that home that's already there?
It was his grandparents' house, yes. So not Michael and Kimberly Russell, it was his dad's property.
Or was this Emery Williams' home?
That's Emery Williams.
Yes.
So these are his grandchildren?
According to Dean Williams, who's a relative of Emery,
Emery had 8 wives?
So Tyler didn't inherit the house. It was supposed to be sold or divided up between Michael and his. Michael took the loan out and let his son live there for the last 10 years. And I helped Tyler get that. His parents wanted to just be done. So I bought it from Kimberly. In fact, we're still tethered together because it's like we did a solid finance. So we're still in this together. They're going to be in this until I start developing it.
So this property's still in their name?
Correct.
You're just representing them
No.
to get it rezoned?
It's in, I purchased the home, and so we're still in collaboration with it. So I talk to them all the time.
According to the website, yeah, it's in her business name. So she has
The
acquired
owner
the
of
property
is
according to the
Realtor
parcels.
Betty Joe, a professional corp.
Yes.
Correct.
All right, other questions? If not, then I guess we're at the point that I'm looking for a motion.
I'd like to say I'm a little concerned about this. I am concerned about the neighbors. I'm concerned about having agriculture, AL low to the south and AL to the north of it. It seems small for the type of development we're talking about. I don't believe that there's a turning lane on that road there, or a center turning lane. And in the past, a couple of months, we've tabled some of these rezoning issues based upon the fact that the general plan has not been completed yet. And so that's my thought as we start this discussion.
Except staff has said that this rezone request is consistent with the existing general plan.
I don't know that we've tabled any rezones.
No, I don't
We
know.
haven't been brought any rezones.
Yeah, and I also, if you look at the maps that were, even if you were, I agree, I have often said I don't want to hold on, but for this particular property parcel, it does meet the residential low, which is surrounding it. I agree, there's still some agricultural parcels, but in this case, it still meets the, if you look at the new general plan stuff, it meets the detached house, like is it detached housing that we're calling ones? We have attached housing and detached as far as those maps were. So even if you were looking at that, this still, in my mind, falls into that criteria. That's, I didn't look at this particular parcel the other night on that map, but my guess is that this whole area is very similar in nature in the fact that it's all detached housing, which was following even some of the proposed maps. I agree, we have not approved anything on that, but it still falls within that as well.
And as the existing general plan states in the staff report, is the proposed amendment consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the general plan? Yes, the parcel in question is located within neighbor 2, as described in the city general plan, section 12-480-3, the residential policies for this neighborhood state, et cetera, as it relates to residential low. So again, the focus of this, there's a lot of questions that we're going to ask on a site plan development, but that's not what we're here
not
to do.
there yet.
I would, just as a point of note for the applicant, if this passes tonight, you have a street width frontage of 150 feet. I've already kind of detailed the development table of uses. If a street width is 30 feet and rear yard setbacks for 2 homes on either side are 20 feet each, that's another 40 off of that. And a front yard setback of 25, that's another 50 feet. So you're left with 30 feet total between 2 homes, which means you're looking at about a 15-foot wide home. You are a property owner, and we're respectful of private property rights. I don't know how you're going to come up with a site plan that gets you to 15 wide on your homes that's a sellable home. Anyway, that's just
But that,
a point of note.
so I guess what I'm saying is, as a council, I don't really think that's I don't think we should we should.
Exactly, and I agree with you.
I think that is going above and beyond where we should be.
That's
I
right.
don't think that should
I'm
have
just
even been
pointing
talked
that,
about.
as you think about this, if this
Right.
passes, you're gonna have to think
But
about that from
so
a
that's
applicant
why
standpoint.
I'm trying to let the neighbors know that we're not saying, yes, you can build 4 homes. We're saying 4 homes can go on an acre. If you can figure out how to make that puzzle work, you can get 4 homes. But you have to have the right size street, you have to have the sidewalks, you have to have the setbacks.
There's a lot.
And so she may get 4 homes, she may only get 3 homes, she may only get, no more than 4, including the one that's on there. That's what we're saying. You what?
35. Which is the same
That's
as
what she's
everybody
entitled
else.
to build right now.
Which is the same as everybody else
Right.
around. So Robin, we're saying the same thing.
But I think that that's where we end up. I think, what she does with that one,
Yeah,
if
it's
she
not-
gets this, we should not be trying to help design this for her.
No, I'm just
Right, it
stating
might be
development
3,
code
but-
for.
I am a strong proponent of private property rights. I know this is hard, where they would actually, neighbors are willing to purchase the property, but, that is just, it's one of the tenets of our Constitution, and as long as the private property owner can meet the requirements, they get to do that. So I don't want to sound insensitive to your concerns. It's a change of lifestyle that, I get that part. But also, for the same reason, you get the same respect and consideration for your private property. And so but yeah, it's just a zoning issue, and I do think it falls within the zoning. Whether or not she can actually develop 4 property parcels, we don't know. But that's not really
I
a
do want to
discussion
correct one
tonight.
thing that was said when she said the water is wasted on agricultural land. Someday, if we have a truckers' strike, we're going to wish we had some agricultural land. Grow us some
I
food.
mean, we could have a
And
whole
so-
conversation
Right,
about
but
whether or
I'm
not
saying
that
I
is
don't
actually.
know that that was a
Total
correct
different
statement,
road.
that it was a wasted
Yeah, I think,
water.
I don't think that actually applies to discussion. Of course, we could
So,
have a discussion
let's-
about,
Yeah, let's get to a motion on this, one way or the other. Okay, we're getting off the weeds now. No pun intended, agricultural land, but
Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 2025-01, amending the zoning map for the property located at 535 South 400 West, known as parcel 03-001-0076, from agricultural low zoning to residential low zoning.
second.
not a second. Further comment? Okay. Should we vote? Councilman Summerhays.
Aye.
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 Nay.
Aye.
So that passes 4-1. Thank you, staff, for your time. Thank you, applicant. Thank you, residents that showed up and came. We wish you the best. I think that Councilman Summerhays was just pointing out some limitations you may have on that. You're a throwback to all these national home builders that come in. And so the concern would be that, it's how homes used to be built, that's why you get different homes, different communities. So I think the concern is, will you come through and have something that looks decent? And I hope that you, working with staff, can make that happen.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I've been working in the industry for a long time. My goal is to have a nice family home. I know the people that live there with their kids, and we put a slide in our backyard so that they could slide into our backyard because that road is so busy. So this has been a passion project, and it's been something I've been talking to them for lots of years. So who knows if I'll get 4. The goal is just to get a nice development there. The townhome idea would have been great because then the homes could face, south or west, and you'd have one road down the middle, and they're more condensed, more affordable, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
So,
you've got your residential low. So thank you.
yeah, so thank you.
All right, should we move on? Let's go to item number 2, the open and public meetings training. Jennifer?
Okay.
Oh.
We've all been here before.
What's the app called?
Kahoot.it.
It's Kahoot.
That's right. You're gonna have to give me a minute.
You can go to kahoot.it, or you can scan this QR code on your screen and it'll take you right to it.
Perfect.
All right. We have the same open and public meetings training every year. This is really just a review, so we're gonna try to do like speed round Kahoot this time. Okay, you've all seen the questions before.
I gotta come up with a nickname.
Staff, you're welcome to play if you'd like.
Oh, they'll win us.
Sure.
Music's very helpful.
So you're gonna challenge us with some
Is
tough
Lisa
ones?
still on the line?
Lisa's hopping off. She's not feeling well. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
She hung out for that.
Well, maybe we can do okay this time.
And I'm not playing again either.
You're not playing. Oh, I was gonna say, we won't win if you and Lisa are playing.
Hey.
These guys are pretty hard along the back row too. We have a hard time competing.
Okay, one more minute. Anybody?
Hold on,
wants
I'm
to
helping.
join?
Wait.
I'm helping Robin here.
I said one more minute. I'm not starting yet.
We won't call names, but I'm helping Robin.
Oh, yeah.
What do you want to do? I'm just gonna tell everybody what your name is, Robin.
Hey, that was really rude. Spencer did that just to be mean. I'm filing a
Is your name
grievance.
Robin?
no.
I'm filing a
Your
grievance.
name, your name is Robin.
Is Bill Ince here? I'm just kidding.
It would be name calling if I put a different name in there,
I love it.
by
Well, I
definition.
know who that is.
All right, 10 seconds. Anybody else who wants to join? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Seven people.
All right, here we go.
No, that show.
Oopsie.
Love that show.
Shaylin just got this in Whitaker, so she just.
I know, I was like, oh crap,
Oh, you're gonna win.
Hey, what is OPMA an acronym for? Operations of Public Meetings Act. Oh, I won't read. Sorry, it throws people off.
Exactly.
Oh, I forgot I have to look at the screen.
Yes, I
answer,
know.
'cause I was
I
looking
know,
at
I
my-
Lose
just-
points
I'm looking
now,
at
'cause
my
I was-
devices,
I was
it's
looking
like,
at-
where's the answers? And
I was
then
looking
it's
in my device too.
It is accuracy and speed.
Open and
Sarah.
Public Meetings Act. Yes, remember, there is points for accuracy and speed
And
of
speed.
how quick you answer.
That's why we can't
Yeah,
win.
Okay, OPMA stands for the Open and Public Meetings Act. The Open and Public Meetings Act essentially is there to ensure that the city takes its actions and conducts its deliberations regarding the public's business openly. Whenever a quorum is present to discuss business, this is considered an open meeting. Chance meetings at social gatherings don't count as a meeting, but if that happens, if 4 of you happen to be at Dick's Marketplace at the same time, just don't talk about city business while you're doing there. Obviously, you can't take any votes or make any actions in situations like that. So the Open and Public Meetings Act is just there so that the public, so that we're transparent to the public, so that they know what's going on. So, okay, moving on. Hazy Summer, first place.
Nice work, Casey Summer.
How far in advance must meetings be noticed to the public?
Why is mine not, hey, mine didn't change. I can't answer it. Reload. Okay, people. Yeah, it really did. Try again.
Oh, we had a
We
couple.
all had, what?
Okay, so this one is slightly a trick question, but not really. Legally, meetings are required to be noticed 24 hours in advance. We do try to send out notices before. For example, our meetings are always on Tuesdays. We try to notice them on the Friday before as a courtesy to the council to be able to review the material before the meeting, and also just as a courtesy to the public to know that a meeting is coming up. So we do often notice 3 days in advance. However, we're only required to publish 24 hours in
So
advance.
can you let us know on that Friday you put it out, where can the public find the information?
Yeah, so all of our meetings are obviously posted on our website. They're posted on the Utah Public Notice website, and there's also a notice posted here at City Hall. Not a lot of people are going to see that one, but we post it here in our front window, so if anybody looks. But the Utah Public Notice website is a great place. You can see all notices for all public hearings, for all public meetings, and all kinds of stuff on there. And then also those things are posted on our website, usually in our news flash area, or if you go to our agenda, our public meeting agenda portal, all of the meetings and agendas are found there. So, 24 hours for meetings. However, some public hearings and other items do require additional noticing. So like, for example, some public hearings might require a 7-day notice or a 10-day notice in advance. So it just kind of depends on what the issue is. But just in general, a meeting itself requires 24 hours.
Jennifer, can you remind us what those might be, 7 or 10 days?
See land use.
Yeah, land
Yeah,
use
that's what I
things.
was-
Land
About
use
truth
things,
and taxation.
like they'll go to planning commission first and they'll require a 7 or a 10-day notice. But then if it's a subsequent hearing, it's coming from planning commission up to city council, then it only requires a 3-day notice, so it's a shorter notice, because it's like, it was already noticed initially, but then it's getting a second notice for the next level, so it just kind of.
So was the public hearing tonight, would that be falling into the 7 to 10 day?
Yep, so the public hearing tonight was, again, initially went to planning commission, so they had their notice, and then for city council tonight, it did require a 3-day notice as well. So that public hearing was noticed, I believe, on Thursday or maybe Friday, so. Okay, any other questions? All right, Legally Blonde is sneaking up.
Yeah, mine didn't work, so I just.
How many members must vote to enter a closed session?
We're competitive.
I am competitive.
Ooh, 100%, 2/3, yes. This is 2/3 of members that are in attendance must vote to enter a closed session. So one person can't just be like, I want to talk about this in a closed session, let's go into a closed session. There has to be a 2/3 vote to do that.
And you're gonna ask us questions, what we go to public session for, or no?
Yep, but not yet.
Okay.
Mayor?
Because,
Don't give it away.
oh, it's close. All right, we're going to keep going. Which of the following is not a reason to enter a closed session? It was a trick question, I'm sorry. All of these are reasons that you may enter a closed session. So there are very specific reasons outlined in state code that we can enter a closed session: pending or reasonably imminent litigation, character competence or physical or mental health of an individual, deployment of security personnel, devices, or systems. Another one is the purchase of real property, and I think there's a couple others. So these are all legitimate reasons that you can enter a closed session. You can't enter a closed session to discuss what kind of snacks we should have in our back cabinet for the city council, so. Okay, moving on.
Who is Hazy Summer?
Who do you think?
The summer guy?
Summer.
All right. I need to know who.
An audio recording of a closed session is not required if the purpose of the meeting is exclusively to discuss what? Sorry, that's a lengthy question.
Oh, I got this one right. I would hope she would get it right.
This is also kind of a trick question a little bit.
Given that I
There's two
just
correct
practiced.
answers. We do have audio recordings of all of our closed sessions. They're not made public. They're kept confidential, obviously, they're closed sessions, unless the topic is the character competence or physical mental health of an individual or the deployment of security personnel, devices, or systems. If we're discussing one of those things, we do not record it. However, the mayor signs an affidavit prior or after the meeting saying this is the only thing that we discussed. And then that affidavit kind of counts as the minutes, so to speak, of that meeting, and we don't have an audio recording of it. But everything else we do have a recording of, and we have confidential minutes taken of those meetings as well.
We don't, I just want to clarify, no minutes are taken in these two situations either?
Correct.
Just the
Yep,
mayor
just the
signs the
affidavit.
affidavit, okay.
Yep.
Any other questions? Oh, come on. It is so close.
Faster fingers.
No, it is the speaking.
Yeah,
Minutes
it's
are the
me.
official record of a meeting. How long are we required to retain meeting minutes? Actual footage of me doing minutes. One person said 7 years. The correct answer is permanently. We do keep minutes forever and ever. We have minutes all the way back from the inception of the city. They may be stored at the state archives. We actually have them here, but
That
permanently.
is by statute,
Forever. Mhm.
Jennifer?
Yep, yep, minutes are retained forever. Audio recordings are not necessarily required to be kept forever. We don't delete them, we just keep them forever. However, there's not a requirement. I think the retention for audio recordings actually is 3 years. However, we just keep all of them on YouTube and everything, so they're made available, but minutes are required to be kept permanently.
Have minutes from the days of old cassettes been transcribed or put
What's a
onto
cassette?
YouTube?
Do you mean recordings?
Just kidding.
A recording, yeah, from
They-
a long time ago. Have those been made so that they can be preserved, or are they degrading on the cassette? I'm
I
just
don't think
curious.
we've
I
ever
don't
seen,
know
it
how-
just depends on how they did it. I mean, minutes of the time were done right there, right? And not necessarily based on recording,
Right,
depending on
I
how
mean,
far
way
back.
back in the day,
Shorthand.
there probably wasn't a digital recording
So
of
don't
the
know when that
meeting.
started, or I haven't
I'm
seen
gonna look
cassettes.
though and see how far back we even have recordings too, because I'm not sure.
And it might be at state archives again.
Yeah.
That's when we run out of space, and honestly, when we want to fireproof them to some extent, we get them out of our building to preserve them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which we should
Luckily,
do
we have the
for
cloud
our
now,
minutes.
which,
That
you know, is
helps.
stored off.
You've got a
site
couple of
and-
spaces to protect, yeah.
Yep, so we can retain them.
Okay, next. True or false? City council members may text and email each other while a meeting is convened. This one better be super fast. Oh, somebody got it wrong. False.
They're trying to go fast.
Council members should avoid, I mean,
They
you
should
may,
avoid, but legally, they can't stop them because
Well,
I
you-
complained about it once about somebody. And they were
Oh.
told me that they couldn't legally tell them they couldn't do it, but they asked them not to do it. Is that
You're
correct?
saying it's not by statute? I thought it was by statute.
yeah,
By
I
statute.
think it is by
Yeah.
statute.
And they
By
have
statute.
Maybe it's changed. I don't have the
That
code.
occurred 2 or 3 years ago, so I don't know what your question was, but the law changed to it.
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
have the
just 2 or
code right
3
in front of
years.
me, but I can
Well,
find it.
I'm the
It
old
is-
lady, I've been here a long time.
Well, in addition to
What's the right
this,
answer to that? No, you haven't. You're young. I don't know. Yeah.
in addition to this, not texting and emailing each other during a meeting, we also want to avoid creating an electronic meeting just over email thread, like outside of a regular meeting during the week. We want to avoid discussing business on a text, a group thread, or on an email thread, because again, we want all of our deliberations to be done in the public.
The intent of some of those texts, of course, are informational only, not necessarily for debate.
Right. Right. Okay. We're going quick. Oh my gosh, it's so close.
I just can't quite get in faster than.
Do you want me to help?
Try it.
I can
True or false, the city council should avoid talking about matters that are not listed on the agenda.
Mine is not working again.
Good excuse.
Whatever.
Remember, hers wins by default.
There we go. There's 100%. Okay, obviously, we want to avoid talking about things that aren't listed on the agenda, because again, the purpose of open and public meetings is so that the public knows what you're gonna talk about. So if you start talking about things that aren't on the agenda, that's not fair to the public and is not in compliance with open and public meetings. Sometimes, I know we kind of get derailed a little bit on our discussions, and Mayor's good about trying to pull us back to the topic at hand. However, if that happens, obviously, we cannot ever take any vote or take any action on anything that's not listed on the agenda. So even if discussion goes a little bit this way, we can't make any decisions until it's been noticed and the public is aware of that. But again, we want to try to stay on track. Okay. A full audio recording is required from all public meetings except site visits. Good job. All these other meetings, obviously, we take an audio recording of them. Occasionally, the council will go on a little field trip. We went to Center Point a couple months ago to go see renovations and stuff there. We don't take audio recordings of those. However, it's still noticed. So the public knows, hey, we're all going to be together. We're going to this location to do this or that. No vote or action is going to be taken. We're just going to go there. And that's happening. So it's still noticed, but we don't have an audio recording or minutes taken of those situations. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay.
Oh, stop. Just saying. By a whole 3 points. 3
Love
points.
that. How soon must the audio recording and approved minutes be made available to the public?
This one I actually don't remember, and I know we covered it, and I don't remember, and I was too worried about losing to him, so I answered fast and was maybe wrong. I was like, oh.
Oops. I was zooming in. 3 days. Yep,
Well, at least
so
you asked
after a meeting, you'll approve minutes, and then within, I mean, it's not your responsibility, but just so you know, it's my responsibility. I have to make sure those approved minutes and audio recordings get posted within 3 days so that the public has access to them.
They're made available to them, that doesn't set us a requirement, obviously, to approve minutes.
Right, right, well.
This is after our approval.
Oh, yeah.
After minutes are approved,
After,
yeah.
all right.
So, yeah, so you'll have a meeting and minutes will be in draft form for a couple weeks until your next meeting, when they'll be approved. But as soon as they're approved, they need to be posted within 3 days.
So you're too good, because sometimes you get email and it's like within 24 hours. And
I
you don't-
try,
but
I
you have
just,
up to 3
I
days,
try to
right?
do it the next day.
She's just
Good.
that good.
Good.
If I don't do the next day, I'll forget, so.
No, you won't. I don't think you would. It's just nice to get it over with.
If I do forget, then I'll wake up in the middle of the night with hot sweats, remembering to do my job, so. Okay, oh my gosh, 3-point difference between first and second place. Okay, actually, that was the end.
Wait, that means I won.
Well, hold on. I do have a bonus
round.
I do have a bonus round that has absolutely nothing to do with Open and Public Meetings Act. It's
yes.
just for fun. It's
I like
totally
these.
random. Last time I asked you what Brant's go-to lunch was.
Oh,
I
no.
couldn't think of a funny thing for an employee this time, so it's just a totally random question. But here we go. What was the first toy to be advertised on
Blinky.
television?
Is this a real question?
Oh, you just gave the answer.
Oh, I was guessing before it even popped up.
What did you say?
Slinky.
Oh, is that the right answer?
I don't know. That's-
Barbie, Slinky, Mr. Potato Head, Teddy Bear.
Mayor.
Mr.
Mayor.
Potato Head.
We all believed you. He said Slinky thinking.
That's because I didn't
Why is
play
it
with
Mr.
Mr.
Potato
Potato
Head?
Head. I did with Slinkies.
Mr. Potato Head was the first toy to ever have a commercial in 1952, and originally it required a real potato.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a
Right, you
part.
just got the
So
ears. No.
that's all. That concludes our open and public meetings training for this year. In third place,
Good
we
job,
have
Shane.
Nay. Second
Nice
place,
work.
Casey Summer,
Thank you,
and
Nay.
first place.
Good job.
Dun, dun, dun.
I want to redo.
I'm glad you're so satisfied with me.
I am so
cheated.
It means
satisfied.
it means I'm a worthy opponent.
Hey,
Whatever, I want a rematch because I was robbed. Two I couldn't even answer.
Next year. Next year.
thank you for participating again. Do you have
fun.
any other questions regarding the Open and Public Meetings Act?
It is a really fun way to train, thank you.
Yes.
It actually is fun. It
Well,
makes training.
I figured it would be the same information whether I just talked it at you, and this way it's a little more interactive and hopefully you remember things.
I frankly think it helps me remember way better. And I always like to review the information, so
Yeah.
so.
And I would
Hey.
point out, as you probably all saw in your packet, you got a big, 20, 30-page document on this as well, too. for your review, right? So, awesome. Anything else on that, Jennifer?
Everyone? Nope, that's all from me.
Okay.
You're good until next year.
All right, great. Let's move on to city council minutes. We have minutes for January 21st work session and January 21st city council in draft form in your packet. Is there anything that needs to be changed on those from what you looked at? If not, then I'll ask for a motion for approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Got a second?
Second?
Second? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Next thing, let's go to appointments. So I said to each one of you, Barbara Allen's application and Brandon Henderson's application to the tree board. This will make the tree board complete again with 7 members. So I don't know if you had a chance to look at those. Hopefully you have, and I would look for a motion for approval for those members.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you. We'll have Jennifer get letters out to them. Okay, council report. Council member Plummer, you get to report this month.
I get to report. Thank you, Mayor. Council, staff. To start, I think I'll just start with since we just got done approving 2 new members of the Tree and Conservation Board. I'd like to first say that I've been really impressed with the Tree Board, the Tree and Conservation Board. I'd like to invite anybody and everyone to go to their webpage that's linked on the city website. It's actually really a model, I believe, for getting information out to the community. The mission, I think, is really great to have there and state that it is to improve the health of the urban and community forest through tree planting, advocacy, education, and better management and maintenance. Recently, they just made a new chair and vice chair for the Tree and Conservation Board. Sarah Stetler is stepping down as chair, and Linda Porter down as vice chair. I'd like to thank both of them for their service in those roles. Heather Taylor is the new chair, and Keith Roper is the new vice chair. And now that they have 2 new members, Barbara Allen and Brandon Henderson, I think that this is going to be a really good group to do this work. An update on, they've been working on an update for the approved tree list. Heather Taylor and Gary Woodward had been working on refining the approved tree list. Their goal is to streamline the list by reducing the number of choices and specifying whether a tree is suitable for a parking strip. Currently, there are some trees, such as crabapple trees, numerous types, which can be overwhelming for selection purposes. So there are no limitations on trees for private yards that they've been considering. Gary Woodward suggested that the best way to determine tree suitability for Centerville's climate would be to consult local nurseries, which all of the members went out and did. And I'm sure they're going to have some good information when they come back on the next meeting to kind of review that information. They're also in the planning stages of this new year and looking over new or activities that have been proposed, leaf treasure hunts and leaf art contest, and just engaging kids on tree education and other possible community outreaches, kind of looking at park strip design guidance, tree pruning, instructional videos, online resources for watering trees and parking strips, and guidelines from the Weber Basin Water Conservancy District to be shared on the tree board's website. Really is a great website, and again, they've got some great, it just really looks good, and the information is all there. I would just wonder if it would be a good thing to maybe even link the park strips and park strip trees ordinance 11.02 there as well. Perhaps that would be something that we could consider providing information on that site as well.
I will note that.
Great, thank you. Moving on to the Centerville Citizen Corps Council. This has been a great opportunity for me. The council meets every month, the first Saturday of the month typically, and the Centerville Citizen Corps is a group of volunteers with vast knowledge and expertise. I'm very grateful for these individuals working together to help make Centerville safe. In previous CC meetings, we've discussed our water supply. During that meeting, I was assured that we would be fine in most situations based upon the fact of our infrastructure of 6 reservoirs, 3 of which that serve higher elevations. Also with the 7 wells that we have within the city. As we prepare for emergencies, I did notice that we have some holes in that outreach with people in our community. Currently, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has run the group for some time, and right now there's a feeling and a need that they feel within that group, the council, that there needs to be a better outreach to our friends at the Episcopalian Church and the Bridge Community Church. I was also informed that there may be some gaps also in some of our apartment communities on the west side that may not be actively involved within the predominant religion and have that are not within the communication of the CCC, or maybe even understanding what they would need to do during an emergency. So that's just some points out there. Right now, the proposals coming from the CCC, Mayor, the first proposal that was presented to me that would allow the organizations to purchase their own handheld radios. Currently, the city's been, or excuse me, the city previously has been purchasing the handheld radios for use by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as part of a collaborative effort. The church accounted for all Centerville residents after a disaster, aligning with its own policy of tracking its members. This reduced duplication of effort and benefited both the city and the church. So why the change? Are they proposing to purchase their own radios? Currently, the cost of these radios has gone down significantly. It used to be $350 per radio. And these are those handheld radios that operate on special frequencies that are programmed in by our experts on the council. The primary burden is now administrative, particularly in tracking church accountability for city-owned radios. So managing lost radios, especially older models that are not obsolete but still functional, complicates oversight. Therefore, allowing the church to purchase and manage its own radios would streamline operations and benefit both parties. That is a proposal made by the chair, Kelly Sharp. His second proposal would be to establish an annual emergency exercise. Let me say that Kelly Sharp is really good at getting the council together and going through the steps that are necessary for having an emergency preparedness event. And he has talked about walkthroughs, and then once you're done with the walkthrough, then you have to implement that into some sort of basically a practice or a test. And so what he's proposing is, rather than allow or altering current practices, the proposal would be to aim to formalize an annual exercise cycle with structured oversight. And he says this because often we're seeing a lot of our members on this council get rotated out after maybe a year. So we're really needing to have a cycle that helps the new members come on and understand some of the functions of the council, and then after the initial 6 months of their service, they're able to then participate in drills, such as the annual shakeout drill. In April, he's proposing that this would be one of those events that we could have a time to emphasize core disaster preparedness. And we would want to talk about radio communication, universal emergency procedures, and defined expectations for volunteers. And this is a very important part right there, because a lot of the volunteers really don't know, and these drills will help reinforce what is expected of them during that time. So the fall exercise would focus on specific disaster scenarios tailored to Centerville's unique risks. After our last meeting, we had discussed the fires in LA. And, in discussing that, and then talking about the wind that we receive here in Centerville, that is something that I had really not considered as a likely scenario, but it is something that we do need to be prepared for, in that we have the potential for high winds, and in that situation, what would happen if a tree fell and was it to catch fire, and how would we be prepared to take care of that event? So I think that what Kelly is proposing here is something that I would ask you, the mayor, to look over. I do have a form here that I would email you after the council and let you look it over. But the CCC is committed to supporting this structure. But, as Kelly stated, it's also respecting the city's leadership in determining emergency exercise priorities. So again, that is his proposal, and those are some of the things that we've been discussing in those two councils.
Yes.
Just a comment back on the radios, having some firsthand knowledge of what's going on in our stake. They are having a weekly check-in on Sunday evenings. Some of the issues with the radios, though I'm not sure why they are not using the city radios, but our stake did purchase like a $30 type radio. It worked better than what the city had given them from, several years ago. Probably just it's worn out. But one of the biggest issues is we live on one end of our stake, and another member that is on this meeting every Sunday night lived on the other. They could not hear each other. These stakes aren't that big, but we did have a member in the middle of the stake put up a really tall antenna on his house. That is definitely an issue I think that maybe you guys ought to discuss about, you know, how do you get some, if these people are geographically, I mean,
Like a relay, if you will.
yep, it was a relay, that's what it was called. So I would just make that suggestion that if the other stakes are not doing that, at the very simplest level, if we don't have ability to use cell phones and they can't hear each other, that's the first problem.
So that would be interesting, because again, now he's proposed that that the church would purchase those radios.
I think the church is, I mean, at least in our stake, the church did do that, and I think that's a great idea, because
And
they're
for
not.
oversight, yeah,
Yeah.
and for things of that nature, would that mean that the church would be willing to purchase the relays as well?
Well, I
Because
think in our
also
case, they did.
They did.
But maybe, I mean, do we have a relay at City Hall? Could we have one at maybe one of our well sites, or, I don't know. I'm not suggesting, I don't know, I just know we had to have some boost so that they could hear them.
Maybe we need to do an inventory of that as well. But
And there's some conversation going on back there, so I bet they know some stuff that I don't. But I'm just saying, in the case of ours, one was on one end and kind of towards the east, and it was our house on the other, which is Chase Lane and kind of towards the west. And they could hear the guy that was sitting in the middle of the stake, but they couldn't hear each other. So,
Okay.
Brian, with regard to the church's purchase of these radios, are they purchasing them and donating them to the city, or they'll still remain church property?
So that is, from my understanding, going to remain church property, which does lend to some questions, I believe. I think that as we talked, or as I had mentioned, from my questions and thoughts, that there are these gaps. And what would it look like if some other groups had or needed a radio as well linked to that same frequency, i.e. the Episcopalian Church, maybe some representatives from the bridge, or from even communities in the apartment complex.
is it possible that Kelly Sharp is on that meeting on Sunday nights? It seems like there was some representative from the city. I don't remember who.
Well,
could maybe ask him.
Kelly is actually, this is, I do believe, also a church calling for him.
Oh, it might be, okay.
So-
I am pretty sure it is not just people within the stake. I mean, there are several on that are within the stake, but it seemed like, I'm not listening to it, I just hear the chitter chatter of it, you know, while I'm putting kids to bed.
If I can interject before we get to, this is going to be a city council agenda item.
Okay.
We've put it on the list, I don't know,
But what
for
is
3 months. Developing and determining the role of the CCC and what it looks like. Because ultimately, the CC is the last remaining piece where we haven't formalized our relationship as a city with that organization,
Okay.
which a couple years ago, GASB 84 really forced us to evaluate our roles, like the Community Foundation, Whitaker, all those had to be determined, our relationship. We really haven't given them any authority at all. CCC is an ad hoc group that doesn't really have any authority, and we need to formalize that relationship to give advice to you, because they're not doing that right now. All they're doing is advising the chief and the council member.
I
That's it.
actually appreciate that clarification, and I'd like to explore that, because if we as a city are going to say we are essentially
Yes.
deputizing you to
Right.
direct community outreach, I am concerned that we're putting now a third party that's going to be purchasing equipment that's owned by them, that they could say at any point, I don't want you guys to have it anymore, right? Like, if it's a city thing, it feels like it should be city property, which is my question as to if they're going to purchase it, that's great. Are they donating it to the city so it's ours?
Yeah, so Kelly has some great
Okay.
ideas to explore. Again, I think there's, in any way we approach this, it's got to be in a delicate manner. Relationships and reliance on each other, that we want to make sure we approach it the right way, not alienate anybody.
Oh, I'm not
And
trying to
so-
alienate.
Oh, I know you're
Yeah,
not, but I'm just saying the conversation needs to be had to really formalize that relationship and what role they serve to you as advisors.
Right.
Or if they're advising the emergency manager directly, how do they spend funds? They don't spend any funds, but I'm just telling you that they have some discretionary funds that the chief spends at advice from the CCC.
Got it.
I don't.
Mike Carlson got tired, he wants to tell us about his
I just
fears.
felt neglected, you guys didn't invite me out. But
In this.
no, there's 3 repeaters that the city keeps in operation.
each stake, as I remember, had like a little suitcase box that Randy made up. It's been a long time. So I think Randy's on the CERT committee.
Yes.
And Don Wood. Those are two great resources to go out, and maybe it's even a budget item to where it goes.
So Don is the one that put the relay on top of his house
Yeah.
in our stake. That's, so, yeah. And
The
he is an
question would be
expert
to
at all
go
things
to ask
radio.
Don, I mean, he helped set it all up. Don was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, he helped set our repeaters up. We got one at Island View, one at Greenstill, and one at Rolling Hills Reservoir.
So that might be why we needed one where we're at, because those are not even, right? Like
We
Greenstill's kind
haven't
of
really
in our
checked them
state.
out. I mean, it's something that, I mean, it's a good tool because we actually even set up a couple of the well houses where they could be used for mini EOCs or whatever for the stakes. Stakes could go to a pump house and be able to do, and it's probably something worth initiating.
And
getting
we'll talk
people-
about that and what.
Getting volunteers to
We'll-
just step back in.
We'll invite Kelly and I think Chief just really wants an opportunity to formalize that before we present it. It's just been timing. But anyway, Chief's on it. We'll have it as a city council agenda item and we'll discuss emergency management in a little bit greater detail and thoughts and ideas too. And of course, it's an opportunity for us to all be on the same page and get that communication out to the public on what the expectation is.
And that
All
will
right.
end it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Plummer, good report. Anybody have anything else pressing? Okay, we'll go to mayor report. Went to local officials days 2 weeks ago. We didn't have our youth council go, so I just went for a couple sessions and the lunch. It was good. The first session was basically lobbying 101, which was great for new people. The second session, though, got into more of the bills. I ran from that to the fluoridation meeting that the county had, that Mike Carlson was at, and Steve Hunt, and Brandt, and myself, and...
Dave Walker, but he was sitting by himself.
Was Dave there too?
He was. He was.
Way to not sit with us, buddy.
He was networking, whatever that means.
Don't say I forgot your name if you don't sit by us. So,
They didn't sit by me.
it was a great discussion. It wasn't the discussion more so on whether fluoride is good or bad from a medical standpoint. It was meant to be what the interpretation was from our Public Works Department. And goodness knows Mike Carlson was the first to start comments. I was really proud of him. But and then Brandt made some comments. And then after listening and having 6 public works heads or public works departments say how difficult it is to train people to put fluoride in water, and there's no really set training from the state, and how toxic it is, what it does to, one city reported out, just destroyed this room that they created just within a couple, 3 years. I stood up and then said, well, it sounds like to me that so far every city that's commented, 6 out of 15, has said that this is a huge problem from the standpoint of allocating and regulating this. I says, I want to hear if anybody is having a great situation with this. And sure enough, nobody said anything. Well, this is up on the Hill right now. It passed out of House Committee 10-3 last week. The Salt Lake County Council is for the bill. The Davis County Commissioners are for the bill. But it comes to vote probably later this week. And basically, it's a bill that says that if it passes, that it's House Bill 81, that fluoridation on a state level won't be allowed in water anymore, and then it will go to the Senate. But so that's basically where it stands on fluoridation. Oh, that bill also has in it that You could still get fluoride with the prescription. You don't have to have it from a doctor. It would allow pharmacists to be able to prescribe it. So anyway, that I got to where it tied to House Bill 81, but more so it was that meeting, and that they did a great job of just sticking to not whether fluorides are good or bad to consume orally in our bodies, but what it's causing from a standpoint of our Public Works Department, Weaver Basin Water, all that type of thing. Tomorrow I go to the Wasatch Integrated Waste Management meeting. We're going to have probably a long meeting, heated discussion, potentially. I'll announce it because it's going to be put up there. Layton city manager and their attorney came to the head and said they want to pull out of the district, and so that's going to cause quite a discussion whether they're allowed to or not. They think it's an intergovernmental agreement, and no, this is set by the county, and the county decides who comes in and it goes out. So we'll
Is there a
stay.
basis that they're saying they own the land and therefore they can leave?
I don't know. I've been on conference.
They haven't said anything?
I'm the chair this year, so I've been with Nathan Rich on the phone numerous times in the last 3 days. So I said, well, we got to inform the board about it. It's on the agenda, so it's out there. And then LPC, been attending LPC. Mike Eggett, come on up if you're, so HB 198 is our biggest concern right now. I talked with Brand a little bit about it before. I texted Mike while I was in on it. Gina and I and Brand are the voting, but he was listening in, bless his heart. So I want you to tell him what HB 198 is about, because you gave me some great input, and between you and I and Brant, we'll try and relate to him what's going on.
Yeah, so it's a billboard relocation bill, and they're concerned about billboards on the South Davis area and the northern Salt Lake County area with the widening of I-15. And the billboard companies probably have some lobbyists asking legislators to look at this issue. So the discussion is broadening the relocation powers for billboard companies to relocate along the freeway corridor into either neighboring communities and or even further distances than they already can, from 1 mile to 1.5 miles up to even 2 miles in some areas. It's a major threat, even to the point where it would potentially take away regulatory powers of government and or push governmental entities into paying for the damages done to the billboard company based upon UDOT widening the freeway. That's what some of the language is promoting. It's very concerning. There's a lot of factors that go into this. They asked those of us that were attending the league meeting to rank the concerns from 1 to 8. I felt like when I was trying to rank them, I would rank most of them as 1s. Yeah, that's how threatening it was, right?
Same thing.
It's pretty shocking and astounding that somebody's even running a bill with this many benefits to the billboard companies. It's very concerning. So I would definitely make sure to communicate to legislators your concern, and we'll keep monitoring. But
So on a practical level, Mike, if someone in our city boundaries is affected by an I-15 widening project, what does that, there's the financial repercussions, but explain the relocation of that.
So
what does that mean?
So right now already they can go up to 1 mile on a relocation if a city project and say it has to be relocated. That's already allowed by state code. A mile from the location of
North or south, you can't.
It's a radius.
So you go into a neighborhood, 100
well,
or
I
50
mean,
yards?
they'll normally go along a highway area. There's some restrictions about how they can go. Usually it's explored more frequently with state highways and state freeways when they do that, the relocation as it currently stands.
Given unilateral condemnation rights on a private property owner then?
Kind of, so right now, if the state or UDOT were to do the taking, the billboard company can trigger and find another private property within 1 mile that's in a similar trade market and pursue that. And cities have to basically work with them. You can't block
And
it.
if we don't work with them, then we are now responsible for buying out
The
the
fight,
loss of
yeah,
revenue.
you buy out the rights of it. And
So
not
a
only the
UDOT
year.
project will force cities to be on the hook financially.
Right, it should be a UDOT cost.
And it's a huge concern,
Yeah.
South Davis
Passing
County
the cost
and
on
into
that.
Salt Lake
In
right
Salt
now.
Lake,
'Cause
yep.
with the
And
widening.
I've actually seen it employed in two of the cities I've been in.
It's insane.
And we do not want to get in fights with billboard companies, and we certainly don't want them to be able to usurp local authority. And even further, have UDOT make decisions that then force cities and bind cities into the damages. That's the nature of the concern. It's pretty major, so.
So do we need to,
one of many.
is it time to email the representatives?
Sure.
I definitely.
We don't have a
would.
call to action just yet on this.
No,
Okay,
no.
so maybe just hold off for a
But
second.
definitely.
So we have a
want to
survey
worry
that
about.
we've been invited to participate in, and so we're answering those questions from our standpoint.
And I didn't like the idea, like if,
Survey, Mike?
yeah, I did.
Okay.
You got it today?
Yeah, I did
Yeah,
see
okay.
it. And I didn't like the idea, like if a billboard's in Bountiful and it's not liked and Bountiful fights with them, they can relocate into Centerville and North Salt Lake. That's very concerning, especially where they can increase the radius from 1 mile to up to, I think it was even, at one point, there's discussion up to even 2 miles, doubling that radius. I mean, it's aggressive. I don't think it's just, I think it's the billboard companies taking an advantageous play on an opportunity that they see to draw blood, for lack of a better way to say it. I think they're exploiting it, in my opinion.
And then would there be distance requirements between the relocated billboards?
It's all right now pretty nebulous. I know what you're saying. It's not really clear, right?
Could they all end up in Centerville? Is what
Yeah,
you're
I
asking?
mean, that,
What, in Centerville, and how far apart are they? You know, that, I
Right.
mean,
and I think there's some regulations, I'm not real clear. There are some regulations about how close they can be by like UDOT standards and stuff.
right. I
But
mean, we kind of went through this when we did our sign.
Right, but even in cities, unless we have a real strict ordinance, it's not clear. I don't know how that would play out.
Yeah, okay.
Do we know if there's an entity that's kind of pushing this legislation, as I do know that
We know the
Lagoon.
entity.
I suspect it's Reagan, to be
Yeah,
honest
we
with
know
you.
the entity.
Well, but as we know that with the West Davis corridor expansion or build out there in Farmington, Lagoon lost their billboard, and I know that they've been wanting to get that back.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if there's a specific, like, business interest other than the billboard companies, and usually Reagan is the point of the spear on these.
Yep.
Yeah,
Very powerful.
yeah.
Yep.
So there you go.
Hey, way to be, Johnny on the spot. The way you responded back, I thought, oh, he's up on this, so.
I've dealt with billboards throughout my
Wanted to give you an
career.
opportunity,
They're fun.
so.
Thanks, Mayor.
No, yeah, call to action on that one. No other really calls to action right now, but, you know, we'll,
But if you want to have a chat, you're welcome to have that chat with the state legislators. Let them know we're watching it.
yes.
And you're welcome to.
So, and then the last thing is, I got this just being on the Centerville, Centerpoint Theater Board. I saw where Danny had put out there that on February 13th, they're having city councils and city managers to Centerpoint Theater. You're all invited at 6:45 to a little reception.
Yes, I have those invites.
Did that happen or not?
I have the invites. We just got them, but the only correct name on there is mine, so it's, the wrong city was sent to us.
Oh.
But I do have those, and I can grab those.
Does that mean you're city manager of another city? Are you killing us
No,
something?
mine's right, but yeah, all of yours is wrong. Dave, will you do me a favor and go to my office? Never
But-
mind, you may
but
not.
that-
There's a
that's-
stack of envelopes on
It's
my
only
desk.
9 days away, so I wanted to let them
You're
know,
okay.
Brent.
I'll grab it. What's that?
I wanted to let them know if they
Yeah.
didn't know about it, so.
I'll grab the invites before you
Just
leave.
take a picture and send it through text.
Oh, that's good.
That work?
I wanted you to have the wrong name envelope.
Oh, well, that's
I was
fine
gonna-
too. I'm fine
I
with
believe her
that.
name's Heidi or Holly. Oh, shoot.
That's my name?
No, the person who sent it from Centerpoint Theater, their outreach, and I wanted to say, hey. bless your
Sounds
heart.
like you were gonna address it
She was great.
in your, city manager report.
Yes.
Any other questions for me? All right, Brent, city manager report.
Going on the emergency management theme, Chief and I had the opportunity to go to Emmitsburg last week to participate in the Basic Academy. This is the the 101 class that talks about EOCs and developing EOPs. It's really helpful to go through it with Chief to kind of talk ideas as we're struggling through this post-Paul Child era of emergency management. He was great at it, but at the same time, we're learning some opportunities that we may have missed, that we need to reevaluate how we're doing emergency management. For example, so Chief Child was great at the emergency management side, so he was the emergency manager, as well as he should have been incident command, as well as, direct officers. He was doing all three roles, essentially, and we've got to reevaluate how we're dividing those roles. So currently, I'm the incident commander, which is absolutely the wrong way to do it. Should either be a fire chief or a police chief. The police chief is currently the emergency manager, but again, he needs to be on that tactical side. It probably is the incident command. And so, again, we're just looking at how we're set up. We're going to have some conversations about our proposals of what our emergency operations plan looks like. Again, it was great going together with Chief to really figure out where we have some opportunities to improve. Louisa, I just want to shout out, Louisa's doing great. She's really passionate about this, and you've seen her in CCC. She really knows her stuff. So I'm just preliminary saying that she might be a great emergency manager to be in the EOC, helping direct and coordinate everything to allow us to kind of free up and be more engaged out in the field. So there's some opportunity here, but it's great that we have Louisa, who she's taken so many classes. She really knows her stuff. So we want to encourage that. So anyway, just a prelude, we want to talk about this a little bit more. I want to look at us developing some pre-disaster recovery plans. We know what our disasters are going to be in Centerville: wind, fire, flood, right? Those are the big ones. Earthquake, of course, too, but the more crucial ones. So we can develop that plan right now, even before the disaster occurs. And we've talked about that, and communications plan. So it was really great. I still have a few more classes I need to attend for the basic academy, but it's been really helpful to kind of see what we need to do here, and my role is kind of. Do you have anything else to add to that, Chief? Maybe not.
Oh, we're just talking about adding hazmat to that list.
Oh, hazmat.
Yeah.
Cybersecurity, we've talked about as another area that we need to focus on. But again, we'll also talk about the CCC and the critical role they play, the future of CERT, and what's CERT look like, and how do we manage CERT going forward. There's a lot we need to do, so you'll start seeing a lot more meetings and conversations about how we engage, not just the LDS Church, but all of the denominational and non-denominational in our community. We don't care, but what is great to see, and I'll share this in the state of Utah, is the level of engagement of having the church involved has given us a strong emergency management plan that I don't see in other states. Now, how do we then just make sure that's inclusive to all so no one feels alienated? I think we do a good job of that here. Sorry.
I'll just add that Luisa and I had a good conversation with members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, some service missionaries who over emergency preparedness in Davis County. So we had a good discussion about kind of the setup in our city, and some of the strengths and then some of the frustrations we've had with the way it's currently run. And so they've committed to try and attend our next CCC meeting and to try and get more engaged and find ways to have more continuity in the members that they send to the CCC, right? So try and battle that turnover and maybe identify individuals who have interest in emergency management and not necessarily base that on a calling, right? Because right now, if you have a certain calling, then you're automatically in the CCC, regardless of experience or.
And that's the formalizing argument, is just like mayor appoints these board members. I think council should have that ability to kind of say, here's who I want to be on that committee. You can recognize certain things, like this person has been nominated as the president of this organization. And you could say that person is a member, but we still approve it as on our board. So again, just formalize it, so we kind of know who's on that board, and they do represent the city, so we want to make sure we know who they are. Great, thanks, Chief, appreciate it. And then we did, Chief let me know that it's not a scam. It was the Sheriff's Association of some sort is sending out these letters trying to get donations.
Which sheriff's
So-
association?
And why would they put the city council on there?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't.
I don't like
That's not okay.
representing us.
I saw the letter, and I did not see anything about the city council. It was from some type of generic sheriff's association looking to raise funds
Could be a scam, could be legit.
to
Could be legit,
outfit
and they're pocketing 80%
general
of
law
the
enforcement with bulletproof vests. And by doing that, then you show that you are a supporter of law enforcement in Centerville. So not Centerville Police, but of law enforcement in the Centerville area is very, yeah, this, yeah.
Anyway, I just want to follow up. We'll monitor that and see, we'll follow up on that.
Try and see if I can get a copy of the letter.
And maybe work with Division of Consumer Protection if that's misleading and they're trying to suggest that.
Well,
by
unfortunately, that's
donating,
been
that it's
shut down
us.
as a department at the federal level.
Well, I mean, state.
Learned that today.
State
The use of the
still
state.
is going, I hope, so.
Yeah, the consumer one was shut down at the federal level.
Okay.
But yes, we can work with the state one. That's all I have right now, unless there's questions for me.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, I don't know of a closed session, so.